What's up, Bears fans and draft fans and all those in between? It's finally here, Danny. It's finally draft week. We are just 4 days away from the actual NFL draft starting on Thursday night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Bears will come on the clock very late in the evening, but it's very exciting. How are you feeling, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying my brain is fried. Don't ask me to do math right now. I'm trying to figure out how many hours it is from now until the draft. There's no way I'm going to get that done. But anyway, yeah, it's draft week. It is a week that a lot of us, we're in the scouting committee. We kind of wait for, obviously, and a lot of these reports are in a book. To believe it or not, there's still a couple of prospects out there. I'm still kind of go over tape as well to be prepared for by the time Thursday and Friday. Obviously, the weekend comes around, so. I think I was last count. I had up to 175 prospects, and I haven't covered all the ones that I wanted to cover yet. So, it's just more now getting into the day three guys, right? Day one, day two guys are pretty much covered, but day three guys are now, mid to late day three guys is more the guys I'm going to start looking at here in terms of just trying to get a final analysis down, trying to get a grade down on those guys. So yeah, it's exciting. Today we'll do our one and only mock here at Draft on Tap. You twisted my arm, you made me do a mock, and so we'll do a live mock here, and we'll get some participation, hopefully some from our guests there in the chat. And if you're watching this on a delay or a different day than when we tape live, hopefully you can comment on the recording and let us know what you think in terms of how our mock comes out. But this is going to be live. AC is going to be running the simulator, and I've given them the first pick. We've said no trades, right? No trades. We're just going to go with the picks the Bears have currently, and we'll see what we'll come up with here. I'm interested to see what we do here.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to make it easier with no trades. The mock draft simulator that I use is Pro Football Sports Network, I believe, if I can remember correctly.
Pro Football Network, I believe that they have one, I believe, yeah.
And so it'll offer me trades automatically. We're just going to decline those and move forward and grab our picks. But first and foremost, shout out to Tally Brand, the crown of Chi-Town. Aldo got with this guy, Rob, who runs the company because we're loving the products. I picked out and he offered us some hats. I picked out this hat. I love the bold Chi, and I absolutely love the GSH on the side. Like I said last week, I'm not usually a flat bill hat guy, but my family says it's looking good on me, so maybe I've got to go dig in and get some flat bills because I don't have hair, so I've always got a hat on. But that's why I picked this hat. And Danny, why'd you pick yours?
Yeah, I like the GSH as well, the Georgetown Hallis. I like the bold print there in front, and I got the trucker mesh hat. So I just think it looks nice. It's got a classy look. You can wear it. I like wearing a lot of my hats backwards. So, but for the show to promote, I'm just going to go ahead and wear this here forward. But either way, forward or backwards, I think the hat looks good. It's a good product. It feels good and it's light. And in terms of, especially when it gets not heavy, and in terms of heat and all that stuff, humidity and all that stuff, I think still it's got that little mesh back there. You can still breathe. Sweating up a storm. But so yeah, I think I love these hats. It looks good. My family likes it. My girlfriend likes it. My kids like it. So hey, it's a hit so far.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked it so much. I hopped on the website yesterday and ordered a T-shirt. It just says Bears in the script and it's got Chi underneath the CHI. I love the way it looks. And Rob, if you guys are following him on social media, the guy is all in on X. I'm assuming Instagram and Facebook as well, but he's definitely all in on X, and he's making stickers now, sending out stickers with shirts. So I'm hoping I get that Darth Burden sticker that he's got from Luther Burden choking that the Packers corner. Plan on putting that on my hard hat at work, so I'll be able to rock the Tally Brand all around work. And if you're listening on audio, that's TALLEYBRAND.com. Go on there. You can get hats, shirts, hoodies, flags. I saw flags on there. Just whatever you're looking for, he's got it. But we're going to get right into this, Danny, because we've got a long show. It is draft week. Action-packed show tonight. We are going over Danny's top dynamic wide receivers. This is not necessarily his favorite wide receivers, but these are the guys that you get them out in space and let them do what they do. And Ben Johnson had some of these guys in Detroit, and he's tried to carry that over. But his top list is number one, Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. The second one is Chris Brazzell, the second out of Tennessee. The third is Antonio Williams out of Clemson. The fourth is Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss, who he visited with the Bears I think it was this week. And the final is Ted Hurst from Georgia State, a guy who really kind of blew up there at the end of the season. People started to fall in love with that guy too. But if you want to start us off, Danny, go with KC and tell me what you think about this guy.
Yeah, so just some context in terms of what I was doing here. Obviously, these are not my top 5 receivers in the entire draft. I was being more realistic in terms of top 5 dynamic receivers, guys that bring a dynamic ability to the football team if drafted in with the Chicago Bears. So I also was being more realistic in terms of or trying to be, I should say, more realistic in terms of guys that potentially could be in the Bears' range in terms of the draft picks. Now, obviously, my top guy, Casey Concepcion. A lot of people are like, "Well, this guy's a first-round pick." Do you say I think the Bears are going to take someone in the first round? I don't think the Bears are going to take a receiver in the first round, but at this point right now, the way with this draft is going, and with some of the stuff that I've been hearing in terms of some of the, how should I say, that no one's overwhelmed with the talent that, if you will, with this draft, and if they can, so basically what I'm trying to say is anybody could drop anywhere, right? So because you see a lot of these mock drafts, you see these players going top 10, top 15, it doesn't mean that some of these guys won't drop. Now, will they take a receiver in the first round? I don't think they would, but I would not put it past Ben Johnson and company if they, go ahead and put a shocker, if you will, on us on draft night or in the opening round Thursday night. So probably not a Casey Concepcion, but I just wanted to put him in there because this guy is exactly what I believe Ben Johnson wants in this offense. He's a big time playmaker in terms of dynamic and in terms of speed, quick twitch, and all that stuff. So. Get into him real quick with KC. Spent the first 2 seasons at NC State. He started 24 games there. Was a freshman All-American there in ACC Rookie of the Year. He led the team as a freshman in North Carolina State with 71 receptions, 839 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So this guy is just a big playmaker, right? Oh, yeah. Transferred to A&M in 2025. Was named the consensus All-American and the winner of the Paul Hornung Award, which goes to the nation's most versatile player. And that's because of what he brings also as a punt returner and kickoff returner as well. So this kid is a guy that's dynamic in terms of on offense and also on special teams. Super twitch. This guy can take a top off a defense. Take a look here. He's got press coverage, beats him real quick off the line of scrimmage. Look at that cushion he creates there in terms of separation. That's something the Bears do not have right now, right? I mean, Luther Burden is probably the closest they have to him in terms of someone that can create that kind of separation at the line of scrimmage. But still, even Luther, it does not match up to what Casey Concepcion can do there. So this is a guy, again, can get vertical, whether you line him up in a slot, or you line him up, as you hear Streamyard in a slot, you line him up to the outside, all different ways. And I could see Ben Johnson creating, formulas or I should say plays and schemes to get the ball in his hands. Here he takes, Brandon Sissy, the corner from South Carolina that a lot of guys like here. And just really just kind of spun him around here in coverage, right? Again, he's got that home run hitting speed, right, like this play right here. Gaps out 5-yard slant, bam, it's a 20, 30-yard play. That's the type of danger or type of dynamic potential he brings to the offense. And I think this is the kind of weapon that I think Ben Johnson's craving on this offense to kind of continue to that growth and maturation, and kind of form that offense that he wants to see here. And a player like this with that kind of twitch, with that kind of quickness in terms of body control and the ability to go from 0 to 60 in like in a split second is what he wants to add to the offense. So now Concepcion is being targeted, or I should say mocked in the later portion of round 1. But if you guys go back again, last year, Luther Burden was a guy that a lot of people thought was going to go at the end of round 1. Bears ended up getting him in the mid to the second round range. So anything can happen with this draft. So if this kid is available, again, probably not in round 1. But if the Bears do trade back out of the first round and get into the top of the second round, all bets are off. And I think, and I've been saying this from the day one when the season ended, I know Ben Johnson wants to add dynamic playmaking to that receiving room. And, right now they just obviously with the trade of DJ Moore, they have Rome, they have Luther, they brought in Khalif Raymond, they have Jade Walker, a young guy who's still developing. I got a couple guys on practice squad, but to bring this kind of big play weapon, I think that's something that they're going to go ahead and try and do, and they're going to try and do whether it's day 1, day 2, potentially day 3 of this draft. So, but a player like this, I wanted to give everyone an idea in terms of what I'm looking for here, and I also wanted to be in terms of realistic in terms of the options that the Bears can see. So, Concepcion was my first player on my top 5.
Yeah, I love his, like you said, his playmaking ability, how he gets out in space, and right here he finds space in the zone, sits down, and lets his quarterback know, hey bud, there's nobody around me. Hit me up, so he catches the touchdown there. Love to see that. The biggest knock
on him is he's had 7 drops this past season, and I think those are some of the things that a lot of the scouts I had kind of briefed on was more. A lot of more concentration drops, a lot of more something that going across the middle. Maybe he had his one eye in terms of what was coming at him. So those are things that I think can get cleaned up. Obviously, with a coach like Antoine Randall in that receiver room, I expect those to not be an issue moving forward. But you put on his tape, and he's he might have dropped an easy one here or there, but he's making some difficult catches down the football field. Contouring his body, running away from defenders and diving and making a play. So. Again, I touched on it briefly, but what he gives you in terms of as a returner as well, I think that's going to be huge too in terms of special teams too. So I definitely think this is a guy that whether the Bears get him or some other team gets him in the bottom half of the first round, I think he's going to be someone that's going to be an instant impact player. I think he's going to come out and you can see him making big plays, whether it's on special teams or as a receiver. So the other thing that for me, it's like a personal thing where I'm kind of rooting for him. He's battling a stuttering issue all his life, and that was one thing where he was kind of like put on display there at the combine and was given an opportunity to not talk if he didn't want to. And he just, I love the fact that he stood up there and said, I'm going to be a role model for other young kids. And, I've dealt with this and I'm working through it. And that to me, it shows some of the character and that Concepcion has. And that really, makes me want to root for him. I hope he does well. And obviously hope he succeeds. And if he's here doing it in the Bears uniform, even better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know a lot of early mock drafts had him going to, I'm a nerd, but it had him going to Buffalo. That was pre-DJ Moore trade, so we'll see where he ends up. The guy's been he's dynamic. And a lot of those guys that are fast like that are thinking about their next move before they secure the catch, and that may be why some of the drops become an issue. The next guy you've got is Chris Brazzell, the second out of Tennessee. I got to be honest, Danny, I know I'm a little biased. I'm a Kentucky fan, let's be honest. But on top of that, a Tennessee wide receiver just gives me the heebie-jeebies. They set these wide receivers way out on their edges and spread your defense all the way out to where it's dang near impossible, and these guys run wide open. But what are your thoughts on Chris Brazzell, man? I'll throw the tape up.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for me, it's not more so what he does in the offense or his stats. It's more so in terms of what he brings as a physical specimen. You can see him here, his size at 6'4", 198 pounds. He's got 32 3/8 inch arm length with 9-inch hand size. He's a huge target. He's got that big catch radius. He can extend away from his frame, and on top of it, he gives you that 4.37 40 with a 1.52 10-yard split, and that's again. Gives you some of that ability. Now he's not as twitchy as a Concepcion, but he's more of that long strider, the guy that can get that build up speed and get down the field real quick. As you see, even when a corner's got some cushion on him, here he's getting pressed, and like you see that quickness right there for a guy again 6'4", 198 pounds. You see him beat that corner, and that's Georgia right there at the Georgia corner. Yeah. So it's not like it's just anybody, but it beats them. And even if you have give him cushion here, those long strides. Makes up ground real quick there. He was blocking there, but again, just the body control and ability to kind of utilize that speed and get into those tight quarters and reach out, use that length as well. Give your quarterback a big target to throw at, and again on top of that speed, I think this is something that really intrigues him. With Ben Johnson, a lot of the crossing routes, a lot of the stuff that he likes to do, a lot of the vertical stuff. Right now, the Bears do not have a vertical threat. They just don't. No one really scares defenses in terms of going deep over the top. Like Brazzell, like Concepcion, they give you that 4.3 speed, right? And here, especially this guy with that size and length, especially on these crossing routes. I mean, the way he can just break free with his quickness at the line of scrimmage, get away from that corner, and now you go crossing around. Now that corner's trailing and trying to catch up with them. Again, I think just bring something the Bears do not have. And again, that size, that coupled with that blazing speed, I think would be a nice addition to this receiving room. So in terms of some of the things I like from him, first career, he's produced 17 30-plus yard catches. He's had 6 100-yard receiving games. It comes from NFL bloodlines. His father played in the NFL for the Jets and the Cowboys. So and these guys, he's been there. He's been through in terms of starting, at in SEC. Made 20 career starts with the Volunteers. It's the first team All SEC in 2025, leading the SEC actually with 9 receiving touchdowns. So, big time conference. Making big time plays. And again, just that size and that speed combination really intrigued me. And I think that's something that could, pique the interest of Ben Johnson as well.
Yeah, 4.37 for 6'4". That's just, it's not fair to a defensive back to try and cover him.
That's the thing. You don't see that type of big guy. Usually these guys that are 6'4", almost 200 pounds. They're more of those outside big, X receivers and they're more of those possession guys. That guys don't create that much separation. But this is the guy that can do it. He can create separation vertically, right? He's different than Concepcion, the guy we just talked about. He doesn't have that quick twitch fiber, and he can take a small quarter or small space and just kind of leave the corner in dust there and go horizontally or whatnot. But this guy's more of that vertical long strider. He can get past the corner, and then now he's down the football field. And with Caleb and his ability to get that ball down the football field, I think that brings an element to the offense the Bears just do not have right now.
Yeah, that big catch radius too might help with that completion percentage Caleb struggled with last year.
Yep.
Your next guy, Antonio Williams, out of Clemson. Only got a couple of clips of him. I'll just let it play on a loop and let you talk. Looks like, I put his stats at the bottom. They use this guy in so many different ways.
This one is one of my favorite players in terms of this draft class. And again, well-known 4-year starter, 43 games, 38 starts, freshman All-American in 2022, hit the ground running there with Clemson. A 2-time All-ACC selection. He also has punt return value. In 2024, led the ACC with 11 touchdowns. Okay, has got that stop-start quickness to him. He can make you miss. Some of that punt return ability you can see there. Quick feet, twitchy frame, quick release, can elude press. Coverage at the line of scrimmage with that quickness, and it also has that 4.41 speed, and they can run away from a defensive back as well. So see that plants his foot out route, and now stops, plants, and then makes guys miss, in the open field. So to me, this guy is very similar to a Luther Burden in terms of some of that get the ball in his hands in the open field and just let him do his work. But he's got some lower body speed, explosiveness with 35.5-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump, 10-foot 4-inch broad jump, and also 4.41 speed in that 40-yard dash. And again, another one that can challenge you vertically. Can also win on those crossing routes and get these cornerbacks trailing and basically flailing as they're trying to catch up to him. So I just see him as someone, you combine him with Luther, with Rome, obviously with Colson and Cole Kmet. I think you bring another element of dangerous, of playmaking ability, a weapon, if you will, on offense. And this guy is I think if he's there in that second round, I just have this gut feeling that there's a very, very good chance the Bears might pull a trigger on him, on day 2 there. The one thing is with Williams, and I think what's the reason why he might be dropping into that second round is, he's missed several games, due to some nagging injuries, right? In 2023, there was a bunch of soft tissue, lower body injuries. In 2025, this past year, he missed 3 games due to a hamstring injury. So, those have kind of nagged him these last couple of seasons. And I think that's why you see maybe his stock dropping a little bit. So obviously, but the medicals, the team will have to take a look at that and see what they could turn in terms of if they have a plan for that, why is that happening, so on and so forth. So, but in terms of pure talent, in terms of a guy that can make, plays after the catch, whether just get him on a slip screen or have him run those corner routes, have him run some vertical routes, or even some quick hitting out routes, get the ball in his hands real quick. I think this is a guy that can provide something to that offense. something that they don't have right now in terms of vertical ability. And again, a nice compliment to Luther and Rome as well. And I even started talking about the Colson Loveland and Cole Kmet there. And I even talked about the backfield in terms of what DeAndre Swift can do from the backfield as well. So just adding weapons, giving Ben Johnson another player there to make some plays there downfield.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the 187 pounds worries you at all as far as staying healthy. Is that about a normal weight for a wide receiver? I feel like I don't look at the weights, but I feel like they're usually at least over 200 unless they're like really small.
He's not that big in terms of height. He's 5'11" and a half, so just a shade under 6 feet, 187. I mean, you could probably add another 3 to 5 pounds to him, and you won't lose much of the quickness. So I don't remember off my hand in terms of what Luther came in last year in terms of his weight. But, very similar in terms of, just get the ball in our hands, watch them do their thing, make guys miss in the open field, and then just, get downfield real quick. And again, just adding that weapon element. So, yeah, the nagging injuries are something that do bother me, in terms of like, for me at least, I've always gone through when I'm scouting these players, like if a guy can't stay healthy, that's one of the reasons why I'm not high on Jordan Tyson, to be honest with you, the kid out of ASU. Now, obviously, you put on his tape, last year was a hell of a year for him, right? The kid it looks electric in terms of what he can do, his jumping ability, his ability to kind of extend away from his frame and make those plays. But this kid has not stayed healthy in his entire collegiate career. I started off at Colorado, blew out his knee, came back from that. I had a broken collarbone, had nagging hamstring issues, all that stuff. So, for me, if you can't stay healthy in college, it's hard for me to envision you staying healthy in the NFL. Now, has it been done before? Probably, but it's not something that they usually, it's not something that you usually see, right? If a guy is injury prone in college, all of a sudden NFL he's healthy. You usually don't see that a lot, right? So if a guy's injury prone in college, he's probably going to be injury prone in the pros as well. So that was one of the reasons why. But going back to Antonio, you got to dig into those injuries in terms of obviously soft tissue injuries. What's going on there in terms of Clemson's medical staff. What kind of treatment are they giving them? Is there something that Bears medicals can be like, all right, we can treat this. We know how we can deal with this. We can get them on the field, because obviously, if that's a concern, then that's something that's probably going to have them take a kind of step back and maybe not draft a kid. But if that's all been kind of gone over with the medical staff and they've given their blessing in terms of we can keep him on the football field. This kid has got some elite playmaking ability. Yeah. I just love seeing him coupled with some of the other weapons the Bears have on offense and just adding a more dynamic playmaker.
Well, this next guy on your list, man, he's a dude that I was kind of falling in love with even before I saw that he was visiting with the Bears, just by seeing his size and his speed. Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss, 6'2", 207, 4'3", 640, just insane. I'm trying to think who was Ole Miss's coach that just left for LSU.
Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin, yeah. That he uses these guys in all different ways. And a big thing with this one, I know you're going to talk a while on it, but a big thing with this one is Ben Johnson loves the no block, no rock. This is a guy who is a willing blocker as well. But I'll throw the tape on and let you talk.
I put a couple of clips in there with him blocking. But yeah, he started as a 3-star high school recruit coming out of Honolulu. He also lettered in basketball and track, back in high school. Started off actually at Washington State for a couple of seasons, and then ended up transferring to Oklahoma State. And then, in the last year, he went to, as you mentioned, to Ole Miss, played in 16 games and making 15 starts. Again, this is a guy, size, you just mentioned it, 6'2", 207, solid, arm length with almost 32-inch arm length. So he gives you that big catch radius, big hands, 10-inch hands, 4'3", 640, 1.53, 10-yard split. So, unlike Concepcion and unlike Antonio Williams, maybe similar to what we're talking about with Chris Brazzell, he's another long strider, a guy that has him that build-up speed. But, once he gets past the corner, he's got the ability to get vertical and make big plays. Here, just catches it real quick, and then, bam, he's gone. So you're talking about, again, just that dynamic element that the Bears currently, I feel like, don't really have, and they need to get on offense. So I think that's something that really intrigues me. Fifth-year senior. So he's a guy that's been, has been through the college games, had plenty of starts under his belt. I've seen a number of different offenses. And again, one of the better blockers I've seen so far in terms of the receiving class here. That comes in, takes care of that defense back there. He's got the length to be able to go ahead and play long, get into the body of the defensive back, and then kind of just walk them back and clear the way there. So I know Ben Johnson's going to love that. As you mentioned, they had him in here for a 30 visit. So but he was already on my radar prior to this because of something that you said there, because of the blocking, and then also because of that deep speed that he presents, and also he's got terrific hands. Only one drop in 2025. Real short-handed, player. There's one highlight I didn't even get the chance to put in here. It was in the one of the playoffs games where he dove with a one-handed catch. Reeled in with the one-handed ability there as well. So like I said, big hands, 10-inch hands. So again, you see a guy this big, this with this kind of size, just running away from defensive backs. Once again, and I keep saying this, but competition matters, right? In the SEC, that matters. Because that's, but the SEC and Big Ten for me are two of the best or better conferences in college football, and you a lot of those players end up playing in the pros. So you see him doing this against some of that competition. You're like, all right, this kid is legit. But again, the blocking really caught my eye, and then obviously the size and the ability to run away, and then he's also tough after the catch. He's not a make you miss kind of guy. He doesn't have those quick twitch fibers, but he's strong, and in terms of bringing him down. He's a hard guy to bring down.
Love this play right here.
Yeah, he was just one step. That's Dylan Everett. That's an NFL corner, future NFL corner right there. So,
right.
That's again just one step, bam, he's gone. And that's that dynamic thing that I think dynamic playmaking element that I think Bears are looking for, and I feel like that's something that they're going to shoot for here, in this draft.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that a lot of Bears fans are getting familiar with, especially after seeing the 30 visit, and it's hard to not like what you see. He's definitely a draft take.
I'm not saying that they're not going to draft him, but just saying just because they made a 30 visit, that doesn't mean that they're only going to draft those guys, right? So our audience, I know you and I have talked about this, but just so our audience knows, like, those 30 visits, you can don't make too much of them, but also don't ignore them is the best I guess I can say. So a lot of these guys come in for these 30 visits because they're probably going to be priority free agents, or they might be guys that they're local guys that trying to get. Well, the local guys don't count for the 30 visits, but a lot of these, they're trying to get some information on some of these players, and some they have legit interest in, right? So, I think I can't remember top of my head in terms of how many of the last draft class the actually Bears had in here for a 30 visit. So, just take it with a grain of salt, right? I'm not saying ignore them totally, that they're meaningless. But also don't, just because a guy hasn't been visited or didn't come in for a 30 visit, or the Bears have no interest in that player. So just I just want to let the audience know about that. But I think again, just I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's just the big play potential, right? Yeah. It's adding a guy that's got that size, that dimension. Similar with Brazel, a big guy that can get down the football field, does those long strides and make big time plays. With dribbling, blocking element, he brings that to you as well in terms of downfield blocking. Terrific hands catcher, only one drop in last season. So a lot of things you like there about dribbling, and I think he's a guy that from what I've heard has really gained momentum, not just with the Bears but a lot of other teams. He's a guy that started off as a day 3 pick, probably a 4th round pick, eventually moved up to a 3rd. Now I think he's going somewhere in that 2nd round is my prediction. So we'll see how it goes. So if the Bears do want to strike and bring in a player, one of these players, I think those second round, 50 and 57 and 60. I think one of those players would have to be earmarked for one of these guys if they're going to go ahead and reel these guys in.
Yeah, and your next guy is wide receiver Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. I'll throw the tape on. 6'4", big, strong guy. I'll let you talk, man.
Yeah, I first saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I'm like, well, who's this big kid from Georgia? And he made a in the one-on-ones, he made a hell of a catch, one-handed diving catch in the left corner of the end zone. I'm like, whoa, who the hell is this guy? And I put his name down, and then it just took that momentum, and it went to the combine, ran a 4.4 240. He's 6'3" and 7/8, almost 6'4", 206 pounds. Again, we're talking about some long arms, 32 and 5/8 inch arm length with 9 3/4 inch hand size. 4.4 240. He's got a 36.5 inch vertical, 11'3" broad jump, and 1.55 10-yard split. And you see a lot of that stuff here. You see a lot of his ability to extend away from his frame, go up and get the ball. Right? Bears don't have anything like that right now. Okay, he just grabs the ball and again turns and runs away from a defender there. So started at Valdosta State his first career in 2022 and 2023. Transferred to Georgia State in 2024. Led the team there with 56 receptions, 961 yards. Set a school single season record with 9 touchdowns. So and it was an all Sun Belt first team member in 2025. So again, goes to the combine. I'm sorry, goes to the Senior Bowl. Really puts on a display in terms of what he can do, and I think just then carry that momentum into the combine there. And some of these highlights here, again, he's a guy that's very good in terms of separating or extending away from his frame. So if talking about back shoulder throws, talking about just throwing a ball up there in the corner of the end zone, have him go up there and make a play there and get it. He's got really good soft hands. Again, huge target, big catch radius. Can pluck the ball out of the air. Adept at finding that ball mid flight. So he's a guy that if he's running full speed, can just turn around and identify the ball. A lot of receivers, it could be fast, it could be big, it could be strong, but once they get downfield, a lot of times they don't always track the ball. In terms of when it's mid flight. It takes a little second for them to kind of find it. With Hurst, you could see it. He knows where that ball's at. Turns away right away, has that ball in his hands. Again, long strides. I love the way he beats off of big press coverage at the line of scrimmage with that. Body control. A guy that can go up there and contour his body and adjust to the throw with that size and that frame. So yeah, does he have to get stronger? Yeah, his play strength isn't obviously NFL level yet. Coming from Georgia State, and before that he played at Valdosta State. So, limited route tree, it doesn't run the whole full gambit in terms of NFL route tree, but you can see what he does here. Fade routes in the corner, some out routes real quick, take advantage of that size, that leaping ability, and that catch radius, and also that 4.2 speed. So on crossing routes, same thing with some of the other guys, long strider can run away from cornerbacks. Now they're trailing, they're trailing after him, and now they're starting to freak out a little bit. So again, another one of these guys that gives you the element. So, I've thought about getting some of they're smaller guys, right? Or smaller, quicker, faster guys, shiftier guys. But I think what Ben Johnson wants to do is, and I kind of looked at what he had at Detroit, right? Jamison Williams comes to mind. Guy was about 6'1", almost 6'2", blazing speed, a guy that can get down the football field with vertical speed. Also a guy that can beat corners with those crossing routes and run away from guys. And that's what I was kind of looking for. I think that's what he's looking for as well. So obviously we've documented the trade of DJ Moore. That's one less weapon in the receiving room. But right. Moore was a different kind of receiver, right? He was more of the, like a guy get the ball in his hands and let him do it, after the catch. Route running got better for DJ, but he wasn't really a great route runner. He doesn't give you some of that go up and get it type of ability like some of these guys. Occasionally here and there he would do it, but like guys like Hurst, guys like Brazo, even to a certain extent Antonio Williams, guys that can go up there and dribbling, guys can go up there and make a play on the ball, and the kids nowadays call it get mossed, right? Go up there and head top DBs, and Bears don't have someone like that, right? Rome is kind of developing into maybe hopefully someone like that, but that so far hasn't showed that being part of his game. I think any one of these three guys, especially Stribling and especially Hurst, I think give you that ability to go up and make a play over a defensive back. So that rounds up my top 5 in terms of what I think are realistic options for the Bears in terms of dynamic playmakers. There is a ton of receivers guys in this class, and if the Bears don't get a chance to get in these top 5, there are a ton of guys later on they can bring in. There's all different kinds of shapes and sizes, all different kinds of flavors, right? So I think that Ben Johnson wants a guy that gives you some of that dynamic playmaking ability, some of that vertical stretch speed ability, but also some size, right? That's what I'm thinking he wants. They could go on the flip side and say, all right, no, we can go with a guy like, say, a Zachariah Branch, the kid from Georgia. I know he just got arrested, but doesn't sound like it's too serious. But another guy that gives you that big play, dynamic, stop-start ability, make things happen in the open field. There's other bigger, body receivers down, later on in the draft that they can also target there as well. So these are my top 5. Curious to see, AC, what you think about them, and if anybody in the chat has anybody else they want to talk about.
Man, like I said, Dejon Stribling is the dude that I'm falling in love with. I like Ted Hurst a lot as well. I'll throw Zachariah Branch on if you want to talk about him. I just noticed I forgot to make a banner with his size and measurements and stuff. I'm assuming you have that written down so I can throw the tape on if you want to talk about it real quick. In
terms of Branch, obviously let's get to the big news of the weekend. He's arrested the Sunday morning for obstruction of justice. That's going to be play out here in the legal courts. I'm not here to judge him, but I'm just judging on his tape. And I've been a fan of this kid ever since he came in as a freshman at USC. Highly touted 5-star athlete coming out of Nevada, competed in track and was, Nevada 5A regional champion in the 100 and 200 meters. So, the kid's got speed. He's 5'8", 5'8", 177 pounds. So again, more of that, probably more of a slot receiver, if you will. But you see
Mhm.
right there, he's got that game-breaking speed, 4.35
Yeah.
40 with a 1.50 10-yard split, 38-inch vertical, 10 and a half, 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. So this kid's got some big-time playmaking ability, right? 3-year starter, started as a true freshman at USC, and it continued on there at Georgia as well. So led the Bulldogs last year with 81 receptions, 811 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So has punt return and kickoff return experience, has a touchdown in each as a returner in terms of a punt return and a kickoff return. So it gives you some special teams value. Only 2 drops in 2025. And the one thing about him is he's only 5'8" and like sub 180, but he is not scared to go over the middle. This kid has got some guts. And right here, this is a perfect example of just give him the ball in space and give him a single block and let him do his thing. And that's the type of big play ability that you can bring to this offense, right? To a certain extent, DJ was kind of in this type of a mold of a player. DJ is more of a bigger, a stronger kind of a body type, right? Not as lightning quick or fast as a Branch, but a same type of player in terms of get the ball in his hands and let him do his thing post catch. And again, another example here with what he could do. It just kind of like a punt return for him or a kickoff return. Well, is he going to be a guy that's going to line up on the outside and run clean, crisp routes for you every time? Probably not. He's going to be more of a slot guy, someone that Ben Johnson's going to have to kind of scheme to get open. But again, as I was talking about, different flavors, different types of guys, but still big play potential. So whether it's some of the 5 guys I talked about earlier, or someone like this in terms of just that quick, shifty, twitchy, big time playmaker, both on special teams and in the offense. I think these are some of the guys you have to look at here and think what the Bears are going to do. I just love his toughness right there. Some poor guy goes up, he's going to get hit. There's multiple examples. He has a back shoulder here, nice adjustment to the football. Again, tracking that ball as he turns around, finds it in midair. Those are things I look for in my receivers, right? Besides the speed and the ability to sink the hips and create separation, we know he could do that. It's just the ability to for a smaller guy, goes across the middle and only has 2 drops in the whole season. So, and there's a multiple examples on his film where he's clock cleaned by going across the middle. He's a small guy. These DBs are trying set an example. Bounces right back up again, and he's right back out again. So I love that type of toughness, and obviously I love the big time playmaking ability.
I know this was a guy, Zachariah Branch, and during the season last year, KB on the Barfly Tailgate Show multiple times was like, this is a dude that I would be interested in bringing in. This is a guy, he's loving his dynamic play ability. Couple of questions. You said he started out at USC. Did he have any crossover with Caleb Williams? And then secondly,
2023 and 2024, Caleb, I think left 20. It was 2 years ago, right? Caleb was drafted. I forgot. No, 20. Yeah,
he was drafted in 24.
Yeah. So he was there in 23 with Caleb. So he's got some crossover there with Caleb then.
Sweet. And then secondly, the arrest. I know it wasn't a big deal. Do you think it would drop his draft stock in any of these teams' eyes or no?
I've been trying to find out. Everyone's mum. No one's replying back to my text messages. So I don't know if it's because it's a legal matter or because everyone's on lockdown right now. No one's talking to anybody. Everyone's trying to keep everything in house in terms of what they like, what they don't like. But from what I read in terms of the police report, it's just like he was being a hardhead. It sounded like an officer asked him to move. He refused to move, or he moved not enough, if you will, and then he was placed on arrest. So I don't think it's going to hurt his draft stock. I always had him going somewhere in the second round. So we'll see what happens. So he's a day 2 guy for sure. So
I got tape on a couple more guys that are later round picks. The chat correctly has said they don't see us, or in my opinion as well, they don't see us grabbing a receiver too early, maybe a later round guy. So I got a couple of later round guys in Jeff Caldwell and Kendrick Law. And I also have a banner. I didn't grab tape of him, but Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State. Which direction would you like us to go, Danny?
I've seen all of them. So which way you want to go, you go.
Let's do Jeff Caldwell and Kendrick Law first, since I've got tape on them. I'll throw them on and let you talk.
All right, so Caldwell, another one of these big body guys, right? 6'5", 3'8", 216, 32, almost 33-inch arm length, 9 3/4 inch hand size, big body guy, right? ran a 4.3 140 with a 42-inch vertical, 1.48 10-yard split. That's
They're
insane.
like made in a lab, Danny.
I'm
This
telling
is
you, they got bigger, stronger, and faster. 11'2" broad jump. Started off his career at Lindenwood, where he was a first-team All-Conference selection in 2023. Obviously, led the team in 32 receptions and 599 yards. Averaged 18.7 yards per reception. So again, big play potential. Had 5 100-yard receiving games. Transferred and started at Cincinnati this past season in 2025. Has 11 starts. Just only a 1 year. Only a 1 year full-time starter, right? Even in Lindenwood, his starting career was not really there, much of it, though. Only 3 drops in 2025. So again, talk about a guy that's pretty sure-handed. Tremendous size, length, and speed. Size and length to project. For as a big target down the football field. Huge catch radius, long strider, eats up that cornerback cushion quickly. Very good in terms of straight line speed. Can extend outside his frame and make that catch. Some of the things that watching his tape, again, the 1 year starter tells me that he's more of a developmental guy. So he's more of a day 3 guy, right? Not twitchy, more of a straight line guy. So he doesn't have that stop start ability that we saw with some of the other guys like Williams or even to extend, Zachariah Branch, but, has some stiffness in his hips, in terms of route running, that's not the cleanest. It obviously, I mentioned he's developmental. He's still learning in terms of, being a cleaner, smoother route runner. So there's some coaching that needs to be done here. So for me, if you're picking someone for the future, just based off of what their dimensions are in terms of what they give you, size, speed, and all that stuff, Caldwell is a guy you can kind of maybe get in day 3 and stash, on your practice squad or just in that receiver room and just have Antoine Monreal kind of coach him up. But in terms of him coming in and being an impact guy next year, I'm never going to say never. But just I don't see him being someone that's going to come in here and take snaps away from whether it's Walker or Khalif Raymond or one of the other guys. So much less Rome or Burden or anything like that. So yeah, in terms of a guy like for the future, you want to just kind of bring in here and develop. And a lot of day 3 guys, that's typically what they are, right? Guys that give you traits or speed or size or give you special teams value or something like that. It's typically those are the guys that they go for. On day 3. So Caldwell fits that bill. Again, exciting prospect in terms of what he could potentially be down the line. If you're looking for instant impact next year, I don't think he provides it for you. And I think Ben Johnson is looking for someone that's going to come in and provide another option. Because if you look about it, guys. So you mean tell me and I know some of the people in the chat say they're not going to go for someone in day 1 or day 2, which day 1 I agree. Day 2, I'm kind of hesitant on that because. All right, so you tell me your top 3 receivers are going to be Rome, coming off an injury-plagued season, Luther his second season, and then Khalif Raymond. Now I know Colson is another receiver, probably potential number 1 receiver moving forward at tight end, obviously with Cole Kmet as well. But I like Jadier Walker's potential, right? But he's an undrafted free agent. We'll see how that turns out. And there's some of the guys on the practice squad they like. I mean, Maurice Alexander, I think the guy they liked last year in terms of training camp, but. I just don't see them going into the season with just those 3 as your top 3 receivers, possibly with Walker as your 4. I think they're going to add talent to that group. Now, it probably won't be in the first round, maybe not even the second round, but I think day 2, maybe the third round is they may target some guy as well. So I think they're going to try and target one of these playmakers and bring one of these guys in. So we'll see how it turns out.
I know the big thing I kept seeing on that tape of Jeff Caldwell there was deep ball explosives, and that was Ben Johnson. I mean, when they asked Ben Johnson last year about the tush push, and he said, it's not a very explosive play. I like explosive plays. He's got to look at that tape and say, man, I can do a lot with this guy.
Exactly. And the other thing he's been harping on in terms of Caleb, right? In terms of getting that completion percentage up. Also, the other thing he's been harping on is getting – throwing the ball and hitting the receiver in stride, right? So we're talking about a lot of these crossing routes where these guys, break free and create separation from the corner, and now they're running across. He wants Caleb to get better in terms of hitting them in stride so they can catch it and run. Not having to stop and go back to catch the ball or bend down or jump up. Just hit them in stride, and you want those guys that can create that separation, whether it's a crossing route, whether it's a slant route, whether it's a goal, whatever kind of route you want to run there. And hit them in stride and let them go make big plays. And I think that's why guys like Antonio Williams, guys like Concepcion, which may be out of their range, but these guys that can catch it and just go. I think that's what he's looking for, and to a certain extent, Branch as well. So I think Caldwell has that ability as well. Obviously, I think just the 1 year starter thing tells me that he needs some more development, but definitely intrigues me in terms of a day 3 guy. I would not be disappointed at all if they're able to gobble this kid up and bring him in. And I just want more impact from this pick that comes in terms of the receiver. So that's where I was that was my mindset here going into this thing.
Well, Ravi is saying, what's up with Brennan Thompson? He's one of the fastest wide receivers in the draft. The kid out of Mississippi State. I know he's pretty undersized, but I think it was against Arizona State. He hit like the game winner, and I mean, he's just running away from everybody. He's just so quick and so fast. Not necessarily a polished route runner, and as I said, I think he's like 5'8", 5'9", so not a huge guy either.
Yeah,
you got anything on him?
Yeah, another undersized. I think he's smaller. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's smaller than Zachariah Branch. I think I have his numbers here. Give me 1 second. I have it right here. Brennan Thompson. Yeah, I think he's like 5'8", if I'm not mistaken. 5'9", 3/8, 164 pounds, 9-inch hands, hand size, 4.26 40. So again, one of these guys that gives you some of that big play potential there as well. So started off at Texas, went to Oklahoma, and then last year ended up playing at Mississippi. So again, one of these guys are undersized. But again, gives you that big play dynamic potential down a football field at 4.26 speed. So would fall into, he's more of a day 3 guy for me, not a day 1, day 2 guy. I'm looking for more instant impact. There's other guys here, like for example, I think you mentioned Bryce. Was it?
Bryce.
Bryce Lance. That's Trey Lance's brother. He's a very, very intriguing guy. I talked about him with a scout at the Senior Bowl. I was texting with a buddy of mine, and really, I mean, if you put on his tape, I mean, that speed and that size, that translates. That's NFL type speed right there. So for those who are not familiar, Bryce Lance is the brother of Trey Lance, who obviously was the pick of the 49ers a couple years ago. A 2-way player in high school, was also an all-conference basketball player as well. A 2-year starter at North Dakota State, 2-time, Missouri Valley first-team all-conference player. 6'3" 3/8", 204 pounds, with 32 1/4 inch hand size, 32 1/8 arm length, 9 1/4 inch hand size. Ran a 4.3 4.40, and that's what he translates on tape. And I'm telling you, when he runs the 4.3 on tape, 41 1/2 inch vertical, a 1.49 10-yard split. It's insane numbers, like we were talking about. 11 and 1 inch broad jump. He got a 7 flat in terms of the 3 cones, so to do some of that agility. Here, my notes on him right here. First of all, the production was just out of insane in terms of, in 2024 he had 17 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards receiving. Last year, over 1,000 yards receiving, 8 touchdowns. Last year, he averaged 21.2 yards a catch. So obviously, what you have to do is you have to take consideration with him in terms of what does he do in terms of the level of competition, right? I talked about some of the other guys like Stribling and Brazel, playing in the SEC. You take that into account as well, as you do here with Bryce Lance. Right. My notes on him: explosive lower body, quick feet, twitchy frame, can shake press corner and snap and explode into the route. Right. Again, dynamic playmaking ability. Has what I call blow by speed. I mean, he literally can a corner can be about 5-7 yards off, and he can just run by him, and the corner can't do nothing about it. So that stuff catches your eye. That talent catches your eye. Right. What has me a little, in terms of, I put him down as more of a developmental player, more of a day 3 guy. Round 4, round 5, somewhere in there. Technique and route running is sloppy. It's all over the place, right? Play strength. He's got to get stronger because NFL corners are not going to let you just blow by them. They're gonna press you at the line of scrimmage. Right. You're be able to do that. He hasn't been challenged in college. I didn't see that on his tape. Right. So there's a question in terms of can he beat press coverage at the next level? So that's something you have to look at in terms of his play strength and ability to get off of press there. Limited route tree. Not someone that I saw run too many intricate route combinations there. Saw a go route. Saw a slant. Pretty much that's a couple of the ones that I saw on his tape there. It's got an upright running style, which looks a little weird, but hey, 4.34 is 4.34. I'm not going to complain. That I put here, can he beat NFL press coverage? That's a big question mark I have here. For level of competition I have here as well. So, can he create in terms of, and throw the ball to him in the open field? Can he make guys miss? I don't see that ability in terms of stop and start ability there as well. So, let's see. Can also see him at top of his, again, route running, top of his route. I'm just looking at one of my notes here. Top of his route is really unbalanced in terms of his feet. A couple times I see him slip at top of his route. Doesn't create that separation, obviously. So again, there are things there needs to be coached up. There is talent, no doubt. Love the size, love the speed. Like I said, that speed, that lower body explosion, that translates on tape.
Right.
But there's technique stuff, there's route running stuff, there's play strength stuff, there's can you get off press coverage type of stuff? So there's a lot of questions for me. Now, again, for me, he would fall more into that. Talk about with Caldwell, a guy in day 3, intriguing traits, bring him in, coach him up, and you may have a weapon there. But man, it's hard to put on his tape and not be impressed by that big playability and that speed and ability to get downfield. So, and with that size as well. So yeah, Bryce Lance is an intriguing prospect. But again, how much will he get in terms of impact as a rookie? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Did any of his tape remind you of? I know sometimes it's hard, at least for me, to not helmet scout and just see a former player like Christian Watson. Did you see any of that on the tape?
Yeah, you see some of that. That's a good call. I actually did see that because again, it's a guy who's a tall receiver, thin, pretty thin, and he's got explosive playmaking speed. Right. I think Watson was a little bit more in terms of more polished as a route runner. In terms of making guys miss in the open field. I think Watson was a little bit more shiftier. But again, it's just his running style is a little bit upright, which looks a little weird for me just watching him on tape. But again, 4.34 is 4.34.
Right.
So that's one thing. And again, big play potential all over the place. So, but for me, I think he's more of that developmental type as opposed to Watson, who you saw come in and be more of an impact guy, maybe year 1, year 2 for sure. Could give you something year 1, and then year 2 you expect him to take that next step and that's a little bit what happened with Watson there as he's kind of grown there in Green Bay. So remember, even actually, if I'm not wrong there, someone in the chat correct me. I think Watson for the first couple of years was a little bit hit or miss. I know he had some injuries there as well.
He had a lot of drops.
Yeah, and I think that year 3, if I'm not mistaken, is where he kind of took off. So again, level of competition you got to take into consideration, other stuff as well. But yeah, Lance really intrigues me because of that trait and that speed and that size. But I have a lot of questions in terms of his overall, technique and impact he would have, next year. You got to coach him up. You got to give him to Antoine Ronderell and say, all right, we got you talent. Let's make him a ball player. And I think I do believe in that coaching staff. And I do think that you give him a player like this, I think they could, and within a year or 2, probably produce you a consistent performer on the football field. So that's why I'm really, really intrigued by Bryce, as I am with Caldwell as well. So there's a couple other players that I like as well. I don't know if you guys have mentioned them or anybody in the chat has mentioned them, but by the way, you mentioned Kendrick Law, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Law's a guy that I know you had mentioned. I'm going to be honest. Let's talk about the positives here. First of all, 5'11", 3'8". Is his size, 203, a 4-star high school recruit, who also ran track coming out of high school, went to Alabama and was, for the first 3 seasons of his career. So obviously, you can tell this kid was a high athlete and highly touted. Was primarily used as a kickoff returner, also saw snaps as receiver and running back. So I'd heard some scuttlebutt in terms of some scouts like him as a running back potentially to convert him a full-time running back. Only made 8 starts in 3 seasons at Alabama, so really didn't see much in terms of consistent playing time. Transferred to Kentucky last year, only got 8 starts in 12 games. So basically just a 1-year starter. Solid, definition and build on his frame. Looks like a rocked up little receiver. Actually has a lot of DJ Moore in terms of that body and that frame for me there. Speed is good, not elite, right? Used a lot of you see him used a lot in jet sweep and motion and screens, stuff like that. Just trying to get the ball in his hands and let him get in the open field. For me, in terms of like as a receiver, potentially being a guy that can come in and play receiver for you. Obviously, I don't think he can play on the outside. If anything, he's probably a slot guy with the His route running is not very impressive in terms of what I saw on tape at Kentucky. So again, just a 1 year starter, full-time starter. It's only made 16 career starts in his career, and he played 4 seasons in college. So again, you can put him in that developmental kind of bucket again here, but he will give you an ability to as a returner on special teams. He's a guy that can kickoff return, punt return ability. So again, day 3 guy will probably get drafted. And again, I talked earlier, like some scouts had thought about him as a running back because Alabama used him as a running back for a little bit there. So that could be something where they can just kind of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing, where you want to utilize that playmaking ability. But in terms of as a receiver, I just really wasn't sold that high on him.
Right.
Again, someone that you can probably has got the athletic ability. It's got a pretty good definition in terms of physique and frame. Not overly big, but also not too twitchy and all that stuff. But just solid athlete that I think could be coached up and could eventually be a contributor on offense. But in terms of his ceiling, he's more of like a number 3, number 4 receiver, in my opinion, as opposed to a number 2 or I don't think it could ever be a number 1. That's just my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, just a guy that can, again, developmental, can help you on special teams early on, and see what you can do there in terms of the coaching staff, see what they can get out of them.
Yeah, I think I kind of like him better in the running back role as well than I do the receiver. A lot of those clips, and I watch Kentucky every week, so I knew that what was on the tape for the most part. His big explosives are when they just get the ball in his hands in space, screen passes, end arounds, like you just saw on the tape. Very, very few times where they asked him to challenge the defenders down the field.
And then also I'll give him some, because that quarterback play was rough at Kentucky last year.
Well, he's at Arizona State now, so.
Well, watching him play, it looks like times, and again, I'm not in his head. I'm not gonna try and pretend I was in Law's head, but it looked like he gave up on a route like halfway through it because figured he wasn't even gonna get the ball, or the quarterback was not gonna come his way. So. And a lot of it was not very good in terms of flattering, in my opinion, in terms of his route running. So it could be some of that what was on offense, but still you do want to go out there and put your best foot forward, even though if you feel like you're not competing on an even level with some of the other opponents that you're facing there in the SEC. But intriguing in terms of a guy that's got some traits, it's got a rocked up frame that could give you some kickoff and punt return ability, but potentially could develop into a number 3, number 4 receiver. But more of a guy like late day 3, might even be a priority free agent. We'll see how it goes for him.
Well, we got Tooch in the chat. Just a friendly reminder: Thursday night, Barfly Tailgate Show will be live right here on Barroom Radio Network with the NFL Draft. But Tooch asks, who does Danny like as a guy who takes the top off the defense? We've talked about a few tonight. Which one is
actually,
your number one?
All 5 of the guys I was talking about right now tonight is my dynamic guys. I was starting off with Casey Concepcion. I think he's a guy that can definitely do that. I talked about Brazel, running a 4.3 40 at that size. Shrigley ran a 4.3, and then obviously Hurst ran a 4.42. But I think Antonio Williams can also do it as well. He ran a 4.41. So all these guys are guys that can challenge defenses vertically. Concepcion does it more. I would say Concepcion, Brazel, and Hurst do it more consistently on their tapes. The other guys are making miss kind of guys in terms of Williams. You can see him, stop and start and run some of these intermediate routes and just get open and create separation as well too. But yeah, that's what I was looking for, Tooch. I was looking for a guy that can take a top off of defense. I think I was looking for a guy that can make big chunk plays down the football field, and that's how this list came about. So if the chat doesn't have another player, I do have one more guy I do want to bring up. That I watched and I think intrigues me. Again, we'll put him in that day 3 bucket here. But this is a guy that's I think has got potential to come in and maybe be a day 3 gem. We'll see. But it's Malik Benson from Oregon. This is a kid that started his football career at Hutchinson Community College in 2021 and 2022. He was an all-star JUCO prospect. Chose Alabama over LSU and Georgia and Oregon and Tennessee. Went to Alabama for a year. He's like a 3-school kid, right? Went to Alabama 2023, then transferred to FSU in 2024. and then finally ended up here at Oregon in 2025, where I think he had his best season to date. Led Oregon receiving in 2025 with 719 yards. Also had an 85-yard punt return touchdown versus USC, which was very impressive. Size, I like his size: 6 feet, 108, 6 feet and 1/8 inch, 189 pounds, 31 and 7/8 arm length, so almost 32-inch arm length. Smaller size and hand size than I would prefer, on 8 5/8. But around a 4.37 40. Had a 1.55 10-yard split. Again, another one of those guys that can get vertical for you. 32.5-inch vertical, a 10-foot 2-inch broad jump. This is a guy that really does a good job getting down the football field. Tracks the ball nicely over his shoulder. This is a guy at the line of scrimmage can really turn the speed and run past a cornerback. Again, if you're trying to press him, he can beat you with quickness and get past the guy. And next thing you know, he's got a step or two down the football field. Excellent hands catcher. Only had one drop last year at Oregon. Another one that can stand away from his frame and reel in that ball, can pluck it out of the air, if you will. Terrific body control. It can go up and contour midair to adjust it to the poorly thrown football. And I love the way, again, going back to what I said earlier, can track the football mid-flight, locate it, and then reel it in either over his shoulders, contour, adjust to it, or whatnot. So 85-yard punt return versus USC, something that was really impressive there as well. So, but this is a kid, that again, 16.7 yards average per catch last year, 6 touchdowns. He's a guy that to me is a day 3 guy that really can come in. I think can make an impact. Not saying he's going to come in and start, but he's a guy that could find himself some snaps there on Sunday. So Malik Benson out of Oregon, guys, keep an eye on him. He's a guy that really intrigues me. Again, big play potential with that speed. But I love the way he finds that football. He tracks that football, down the football field, adjusts, makes a play. Not the biggest guy. He's not 6'4" and 6'2" like some of the other guys we were talking about earlier tonight. 6 feet, but he's solid. And again, big play potential is stuff I like.
You may have covered it, and I can't. I don't remember if you did or not. Did Benson? It's Benson, correct? Out of Oregon.
Malik Benson, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Malik Benson. Did he play special teams? Was he a return man for them as well?
Yeah, 85-yard punt return touchdown versus USC. So he's got punt return experience as well.
Awesome. So you can use him all over. I'm wondering if he stuck out to people while they were trying to watch Kenyon Sadiq on tape. I know Kenyon's gonna probably be a top half of the first round pick.
He caught my eye when I was watching early on this season. I was watching Dante Moore, the quarterback for Oregon, there as well. So, and I'm like, oh, who's this number 4 receiver? And I looked him up and saw that he's a guy that was draft eligible, could have been draft eligible. So, and ever since I've been tracking him, and obviously I saw him at the combine and did what he did there. So, really really intrigued by Benson as again day 3 guy. Gives you some of that big play potential there as well. So there's a ton of guys, and like I said earlier, it's just pick your flavor. Do you want big tall guy that's 6'4" that can run 4.3, or do you want a guy that's 5'9", 5'10" that can run a 4.35 and has that start ability and more like a punt return ability, get him in the open field, and Ben Johnson might have to scheme him open or line him up in the slot or something like that. So. But there's going to be guys littered, throughout this draft in terms of the receiving group, and like I said, I do feel that they are looking for someone to come in here and give them some of that big play potential. So we'll see how it goes. Whether it's day 1, I doubt, but day 2, day 3 for sure. If they haven't taken one in the first 3 rounds, I think for sure you could probably think they'll take one on day 3. So just curious to see who it is and how they go in and bring them in.
Yeah, it'll definitely be something to watch on draft night. And with that, it is time for me, AC Polls, to take over my draft. And I love it.
You love that, don't you?
I love this time of year, Danny. I can't lie to you. It's sad that it's been our Super Bowl for so many years, and this year we actually had a good season. So we were, like you said, we were behind on draft prep. Usually by the time we start this Draft on Tap show, we've done, or I've done so many mock drafts. I pretty much know who's going to be around our spot. But with us down at 25, man, there's no telling who's going to be there and
But
who's not.
for us, with me and on Buffon 55, we're talking draft by week 5 usually, typically, right? This is the first year where like draft wasn't even a thought on our mind. We were talking about next opponent and playoff positioning and winning division and beating the Packers, and that's all the talk we were talking about. That's good stuff. That's what we want to be talking about, right? So this is a little bit later in terms of getting into the draft talk, but definitely it's always exciting. It's always exciting. I mean, I'm into, obviously NFL is the grand poobah, if you will, for me. But like even like NBA draft, like I'm not into college basketball that much, but I do watch the tournament just to kind of get an idea of who some of these players are, and then obviously NBA draft gets into it. Hockey draft, forget it. I have no idea. There's players that are being drafted from other countries. I have no idea who they are. So in baseball too, I'm not big into that. But the NFL draft is the I've cleared my calendar. I've told everybody, family, relatives, friends, like I am unavailable this weekend. I am going to be drenched in draft, wall-to-wall draft coverage. So,
absolutely. So we'll get right into this and share my screen here.
So we're doing a mock simulator here. We're picking for the Bears only, right? And AC's got I gave him the first pick. He can make the first round pick for the Bears. And then we're not doing any trades. And we're only doing the Bears picks, and so this is how we're gonna run it. And if you make a bad pick, AC, I'm gonna let you have it right here on the air. So, no pressure, all right? No pressure.
Yeah, I'll wear it. So we're using ProFootballNetwork.com/mock draft. You select your team, you select your rounds. I chose the speed to be normal because I kind of want to see where some players are going. And they got a bunch of big boards here. They got theirs, ESPN, Pro Football Focus, Athletics, User ADP, where they take all the mock drafts and try and compile it into a big board. Jacob Infante, who's a big Bears fan, Ian Cummings, I'm not sure who that is, and Wide Left. I'm just going to take the consistent one because that's the one that I've always been doing. Usually I go 7 rounds, but for time and Danny's boredom purposes, we're just going to do the first 3 rounds.
You can go 7 if you want. I'll give you those picks as well. Let's go. You can go 7 if you want. I know that you love this stuff. So let's go ahead and let you have it.
Oh wow, I appreciate it, Danny. Let's hop right in though. I'm just going to hit enter solo draft right here. And with the top pick, of course, Fernando Mendoza goes. Arvell Reese goes to the Jets. I'm not going to read them all. I'll just let it.
I can't see your screen, so it's very, very tiny. I'm not sure if we can expand it anyway, but it's very hard for me to see that.
Did that help any?
A little bit. You may have to read off the options for me there when we get to
okay. So we're coming up here. We are now on the clock, and we have been offered a trade. Cincinnati Bengals for the 41, 72, and 110 to give them 25 and 120 or and 241. But again, we're not taking any of these, but that would be enticing to try and move down. So we're going to reject both these trades. The other one's Atlanta. You pick up some draft capital for next year if you take that one. So our top available prospects. Danny is right up your alley. We got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who he's fine. I'm not a huge fan of him. We got Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who you absolutely love. And I feel like you would run faster than him to get the card up there. Casey Concepcion is the next guy who we talked about tonight. As far as defensive tackles, we get Peter Woods down here. Do you want to hear offensive tackle? Or
so who are the options? Offensive tackle.
We have Blake Miller and
he's a right tackle. He's a right tackle. Blake Miller's a right tackle. Who's the other option? Max. Iannator is also a right tackle. He's a kid that started playing football late in his college career. Only played right tackle at Arizona State. He's a project guy, like the guy you can develop, but he's more of a right tackle. So the only 3 true left tackles, and I'm assuming that's what you're looking for here at AC, would be Caden Parker. It would be Max Freeling, and also then would be Caleb Lomu from Utah. Those are the 3 first-round tackles that are true left tackles.
Those guys are all gone. Spencer Fano went 21 to the Steelers, and Caleb Lomu went 23 to the Eagles. So we just barely missed those guys if you wanted to trade up. We do have Zion Young here from the edge position, who I like a lot, and TJ Parker as far as the highest
Is
rated that
Kendrick
they.
Falk on as well?
Let me look through the draft results.
Oh, I see him
Yep,
right there, right? That's right. Yep.
goes to Minnesota. So unfortunately, we'll have to play him. Yeah, that's who I was kind of hoping.
What do you got? What do you got? Who are you considering here?
I know we love Caden McDonald, but I feel like the defensive tackle position, we like Caleb Proctor later. We like I'm trying to think of Zane Grant later from Penn State. And I think we have to grab an edge rusher this high. I'm thinking Zion Young. So what they've got on here for him, they give you a scouting report: 6'6", 262 out of Atlanta. He has very good play strength and size. They say his combine comps. I don't know any of these guys. Tyler Beatty sounds familiar. Liatu Latu, which was a first-round pick with the Colts a couple years back, and he has had a 30 visit with the Bears. I think I'm going Zion Young on this one. I know it's kind of a chalky pick. We're seeing a lot of places. I really like the kid, and I think he fits our scheme really well. And I think he's a guy that Dennis Allen would love to have. So that's what I'm going. I'm going with Zion Young. You good with that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's not who I would have gone with, but it's at least it's not the safety.
Yeah, you would have done. I'm assuming McDonald, right?
I would have done McDonald. Yeah.
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 Well, man, you got me.
It's your call. It's your call, man. Go with your call. You want Zion Young? Take him.
Yeah, I'm going Zion Young because I just feel like the defense.
He fits Dennis Allen's scheme. The only thing is lately some of the testing numbers were not up to par. We're a little bit down, and there was talk about him maybe dropping to the top of the second round. So that's the only thing with Zion Young here is maybe we're drafting him a little bit higher than expected. The only thing the other thing that would make me kind of I would have picked McDonald. The only thing that would have made me stop, and it's funny because we just talked about him, right? Casey Concepcion.
Mm-hmm.
Would Ben Johnson say, "Hey, this is a big play, guy on my offense that I want." Would he step in and take someone like that? But the other guy that I can't really see your screen that well, but I think Chris Johnson is available, and as is TJ Parker, and then is Colton Hood still also available?
Colton Hood's here at 30.
Yeah, see,
Chris Johnson's here at 35.
Those guys would make me stop and think because I know I might be in a minority on this, but I'm really concerned about the depth at our cornerback position. I know Tyreek Stevenson is going to a make or break year, and Jalen Johnson's coming off an injury-plagued season. Hopefully, he's good, but obviously, Kyle Gordon can't stay healthy either. So, I'm really concerned about the corner position. So, Colton Hood would make me kind of think there as well as with Chris Johnson. So let's go Zion Young, and then let's move on to the second round.
Does TJ Parker give you any pause, or do you think Zion Young is much better than TJ Parker here?
I like TJ Parker in terms of his pass rush ability. To me, is more advanced than Zion Young. Zion Young right now is just a straight up power rusher. Great effort. Both guys play with good motor. Young has got more of the length and the size that DA wants. So Parker is a little bit undersized, about 6'3", a little bit under 6'4". Arm length is about 33-inch. So he's not too small. And he's coming off a down year as well, and at Clemson. But for me at the Senior Bowl, he really stood out in terms of Parker. That is really stood out in terms of his ability to kind of get tackles on their rear ends just by bull rushing them into the back of the backfield. So Parker for me is a better pass rusher. Zion Young might be a better overall fit for the scheme and for Dennis Allen because of his ability as a run defender, as well as potential what he gives you as a pass rusher.
I think I may go TJ Parker here. I know he's a little shorter.
You can't be a GM. You don't have the stomach to be a GM. You got to go with your instincts, man. Go with your scouting report and pick him. If you want Zion Young, pick Zion Young, man.
Well, I like both of them. That's why.
Well, it's your pick. I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let you do it.
I'm going TJ Parker. Fuck it.
Wow. All right.
See if the chat's roasting me in here. Saying, what's the concern of McNeil Warren? When we did our scouting report, derail me. It's he gives you a lot of what you got with, in my opinion, with Jaquan Brisker, and we really feel like the Bears are attempting to move away from that and have two safeties that are kind of interchangeable. It feels like if somehow Thieneman falls within striking distance, that would be the pick. But he wasn't.
And then just so they're clear, I don't necessarily agree with that. In terms of he gives you, same thing. He gives you more than Brisker does. He's a better ball hawk. He's a guy creates fumbles. I believe he has 7 or 9 forced fumbles in his career. For me, he's a developmental player. He's not there yet, right? He's a guy that he's got good size, good length. Runs a 4.5 40. His eyes are still kind of catching up. They're a tad bit slow. For me, he's a second round pick. He's not a first round pick. So if he was available with this pick coming off for me, I think long and hard about taking him here.
Well, Danny, we've got some decent looking trades here. I know we're not taking them, but if Houston offers me this to drop 59 from 57, I'm taking it. But we're not going to take it tonight.
We're not taking it tonight. We're just going to do straight up picking. So let's
straight up pick. So your top picks here is Gabe Yakis. So maybe I should have waited on edge. And Malachi Lawrence is there. I know you love Lee Hunter, who's sitting there as well.
Well, I can't see that. So you're gonna have to read this for me. Who else was there?
Keontae Scott, R. Mason Thomas, Jadarian Price, Traden Stukes, who's been a big pick for us. This says corner, but he's projected as a safety at the next level. Your guy Antonio Williams is sitting here. Jennings Dunker, the mulleted madman that's probably going to play guard at the next level. Zachariah Branch is here. Ted Hurst is here further down. I don't know how far down you want me to go. Sam Hecht is here. Pretty far down here. The center out of Kansas State. You got any thoughts?
Jadarian Price is not going to last in the second round. I think he's going to see. Like you already took Parker because if you had taken, for example, Caden McDonald, I would have jumped over Gabe Yakis. I'm a huge Gabe Yakis fan.
I agree. If I would have done that, that's where I would have gone.
He's a guy that could really, but you've already taken Parker, so that's right. In terms of defensive tackle is something that I'm looking at. Let me take a look at my list here and ask you if any of these guys are available. 1 second. Let's see. So
if you're looking straight at defensive tackle, I can pull them up by position.
We have a defensive tackle there. Lee Hunter is probably the highest rated one.
Mm-hmm.
And then who you got there? You got
Lee Hunter, Dominic Orange, Grayson Halton, who I like a lot, Daryl Jackson, Chris McClellan, but he's pretty far down there. He'll probably fall maybe to 89 for us. And Caleb Proctor there as well, who I know you love.
Yeah, I just want to reach for those guys at the second round. So
right.
So who are the safeties that are still not there, not on the board?
They don't have him listed as safety. They got him listed as corner. We got Keontae Scott, Traden Stukes, Davison Igbonison is a corner. Malik Muhammad out of Texas.
Those are corners. What are safeties?
Genesis Smith, Kamari Ramsey, Jalen Kilgore, Zaki Wheatley, and Bud Clark are the top 5 here.
All right, we got 2 guys that I love here in terms of we got a couple offensive playmakers. We got a safety that I love, and we also have a corner that I love. We haven't attacked the defensive line in terms of the defensive tackle position. Now, I also don't want to reach for one that I might be able to get a pick in the next pick at 60 or pick 89. Yeah. So, I've been talking about bringing in a playmaker. I really want to pull a trigger and take Gabe Yakis here. I really do. But the problem is we've taken TJ Parker in that first round. I don't going back to back edge guys. I think and Yakis is a guy that's more of a tweener, right? He's a guy that a lot of teams like as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Some think he could add maybe another 10, 15 pounds and be a hand in the ground defensive end. Early on, he's probably going to be a situational pass rusher until he gets bigger and stronger and, a little bit more stout in terms of point of attack. But I love this kid's motor. I love the violence he plays with, right? Same thing with Malachi Lawrence. He's a guy I love. Athleticism. I love but he's more of a developmental guy. He's a guy that was more of a you play him off. They played him off the line of scrimmage. There are times you see him as a stack backer. So I think he's a guy that developmental is guy that intrigues you with some of the traits he's got. But so while he's not my favorite guy, he's also a guy that does fill a need here. I would. I'm going to go ahead and go with my gut and go with a guy that I feel like, the Bears have been talking about. We want guys that play with violence and play with speed and bring some swagger to the team. And some people are going to say this is a reach, but go ahead and give me Keontae Scott from Miami.
Well, he's the fourth best player on the board according to Pro Football Network. And we got another trade we're not taking. I'm definitely not taking one from Detroit. Okay, we still got Lee Hunter. We still have Malachi Lawrence. We still have Traydon Stukes. We still have Zachariah Branch, who you like, and Antonio Williams here, and Ted Hurst further down here. What are you thinking here? Are you thinking center, D-line still, or what's your
I think we get our center in a third round. So I'm
Okay.
debating whether I go Lee Hunter or I go Antonio Williams here. Is anybody in the chat? What do you guys think? Bring in a playmaker like Antonio Williams. We just talked about
Robbie
him.
says Hunter.
Lee Hunter, yeah. Big guy, Lee Hunter, in terms of size. Is he the speed guy that DA might want as a defensive tackle? I don't. He's not that, but he's a guy that really has shown some ability in terms of getting up the field. He's a pass rusher, can occupy blockers. So I think, yeah. And so far, a couple of people here in the chats have said Hunter. I'm gonna go defensive line, Lee Hunter. Give me him.
All right. So we shore up our D-line in the first two rounds, come out with Lee Hunter and the first round pick, which was TJ Parker. And do you think Keontae Scott will play corner for us or safety? Some people
I think he plays nickel corner. You can play him at safety, nickel corner. And then I think if that's, again, when I did my scouting report on him, he's more of like a CJ Gardner-Johnson type guy that can play some, he's got some versatility, can cover guys in the slack, and also is comfortable at the line of scrimmage. Is a terrific blitzer off the edge, provides that 4.3 speed off the edge as well. So if you want or if you need to, you can go ahead and bump Kyler Gordon to the outside if you want or need to, and put him as a nickel there as well. So it gives you a lot of versatility. Eventually down the road, he could transition to be a full-time safety. But right now, for me, he's a tweener in terms of a nickel safety guy. Again, he's my CJ Gardner-Johnson replacement.
Well, we're here at 89. Mike Washington Jr. is the top of the board with Jalen Kilgore and Zachy Wheatley and Bud Clark here within striking range as far as safeties go. We got Kieron Crawford, the edge out of Auburn. Daryl Jackson, the defensive tackle.
What centers here available?
Jake Slaughter and Logan Jones are right here. Now, if it's up to me, I like Logan Jones above Jake Slaughter.
This is pick 89, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then the next one is 129. So, well, if go under centers, let's see who's still available in terms of centers overall.
We got Slaughter, Logan Jones, Brian Parker II from Duke, Trey Zoom III from Texas A&M, but those guys are pretty far down. They're down at 123 and further. Matt Golban, who we talked about, is down there at 148.
Yeah. And then so we've got defensive tackle, we've got a corner / safety, we've got a defensive, and I feel like what are receivers right here?
Let's check. We got Brendan Thompson, Jacoby Lane, Kevin Coleman Jr., Kendrick Law, Cyrus Allen, Malik Benson, but these guys are pretty far down.
These are not, yeah. So, all right. So, and in the cornerbacks position, just straight up corners.
Chandler Rivers, Takario Davis, Willie the Third, Devin Moore. All
right, let's go with. Well, this is your pick, isn't it? You're making this pick, right?
I mean, I'll pick it if you want me to. I'm leaning Logan Jones because I
Yep,
just love
I
them as a
agree.
prospect.
I agree with you. I think Logan Jones.
Okay, Logan Jones. I know Jay. I know we covered centers, but he's a center out of Iowa. Was a former wrestler, correct? Has the ability
No,
to get out in space.
Slaughter was the former wrestler.
Slaughter was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
But I
was
mean,
thinking
Logan
it was.
Jones is I mean, the Iowa guys are always good offensive linemen.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen people.
He's a super athletic. He fits the profile in terms of what they like into their wide zone scheme. So, all right. So now we're looking. Now we've got offensive center. We got our defensive tackle and defensive line. Our defensive edge guy. We've got our corner / safety. Now we're looking at probably a playmaker on offense is what I'm thinking here.
Well, we're up on the board.
Available. This is pick 129, fourth round.
Yep, absolutely. So the top of the board, we got Jonah Coleman, a running back out of Washington. If you're looking offensive tackle, you got Jude Bowery out of Boston College and Markel Bell out of Miami, Florida. Drew Shelton's here out of Penn State, the offensive tackle as well. Tremont Claiborne, the running back from Wake Forest. Your boy Caleb Proctor sitting here, but we already went defensive.
That's intriguing. That is intriguing. Okay. How about receivers? Who's receivers there?
Okay. Yeah, let me pull that up. Kevin Coleman, Cyrus Allen from Cincinnati, Malik Benson from Oregon, Josh Cameron from Baylor, Jeff Caldwell from Cincinnati's there.
No, it's pretty slim pickings already. Oh, holy cows!
They must have
these are guys that I know this is round 4, and this is probably I said day 3, but I think these are more guys that I mean, Benson intrigues me. Obviously, Caldwell we just talked about as well. But I think again we talked about he's more of a developmental kid. So I'm not sure if I want to pull a trigger here. This is more I can bring in someone that can help me. Whether it's how about a linebacker, off-ball linebacker? Have you looked at those guys?
Bryce Botcher from Oregon, Aiden Fisher from Indiana, Harold Perkins from LSU, Tarin York from Texas A&M, and Jack Kelly from BYU.
Right. Which way is the chat leaning, and which way are you leaning there, AC?
I think I may be leaning toward bringing Proctor in. I know we've already went defensive tackle, but this guy gives you a little more depth. He's a pass rush guy. They're saying Hecht, Slaughter. They're talking about the last pick. Okay. Cliff says take best player available. Bears can always sign a 1-year wide receiver in free agency. Other than that, they're still talking about the last pick that we made.
They like that, or they hate Logan.
They liked it. It seems like Ravi says loved it. We got the hands praying emoji or praise emoji. Says Harold Perkins is intriguing. D. Rami is saying that.
He is intriguing. He's an athlete. He's a guy that's more of like a see ball, get ball kind of linebacker. Has shown some potential as a blitzer off the edge. So Perkins is a guy that does intrigue me here. Brings some of that speed element to that linebacker core. But we talked about it earlier, ACU and I. I think it was before the show started. We're like, they brought in obviously Devin Bush. They've resigned Jackson from DeMarco Jackson,
right.
Jack Sanborn, obviously Ruben Hippolyte, a 4th round pick from last year. I know Sewell is recovering from an Achilles injury, so we don't know how he is at. But you have Carl Jones that they kind of liked on a practice squad, so that they're already 5 or 6 deep. I wanted to get a playmaker, but I just think that right now, and some of the running backs I do like. I love Jonah Coleman as a running back. I love Demby. Demon Claiborne as a running back as well. But he's more of like a guy I can get in. I thought I can get in the later portion of the draft. This is a 4th round pick here. I love Cale Proctor, and if you cannot go wrong with defensive linemen, in my opinion, right? And he's a guy that plays for a small school, southeastern Louisiana. But everyone watched the LSU game. Everyone watched the LSU game, and he was
Right.
a wreaking havoc versus LSU. Now I know LSU didn't have a great year this year, but still, that's an SEC team, and he was wreaking havoc on that LSU offensive line. So I think Hunter can be that plug, the running lanes kind of defensive tackle, occupy blockers. Proctor's more of that get upfield, penetrate, and make shit happen. And
I agree.
I think Proctor would be the way I would go here if it was me.
I'm right there with you, bud. That's who I was going to pick. And
there we go. Now we just rest until the 7th round.
Yeah. Oh, well, I forgot you sent me your wish list. So I guess maybe after the draft, I can throw your wish list up and we can talk about some of the prospects that we did get that are on your wish list, Danny. So,
yeah. Well, a couple of them you already got. A couple of them.
Yeah. Chat, what are you guys thinking of our draft so far? Like, I'll bring up our picks that we got. So my picks, we picked TJ Walker at 25, Keontae Scott at 57, Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle from Texas Tech at 60. We grabbed Logan Jones to shore up our center position out of Iowa at 89. And then we grabbed Caleb Proctor, a pass rush specialist defensive tackle from Southeast Louisiana.
So the one thing, if you leave it up there real quick, our draft pick so far, the one thing that the Bears have been consistent in terms of what they've been preaching this offseason is they want to get quicker, faster, younger, and more physical. And they want to get, in terms of guys that love football, love the game, right? And I think that's kind of comes here in our picks. I think Parker is a guy, again, for me, his 2025 tape was not as good as his 2024 tape.
Right.
But he was a man possessed. It looked like he was out there to prove a point at the Senior Bowl, and he did that. He was unblockable, especially in the one-on-one. So I think he's a guy, might not fit the profile exactly to what DA likes, but I think he's a guy that DA could utilize. Run game, he's not as strong or stout as Zion Young that we were talking about earlier, but we went with that guy because of his upside in terms of the pass rush area. I think Keontae Scott fits that bill we're just talking about right now. Fast, physical. Is a guy that can, bring some of that nastiness to that defensive secondary. Again, I've said multiple times now, he is my, CJ Garner-Johnson replacement, kind of fits in that role, can play both nickel, can play some safety. Lee Hunter is a guy, another one at the Senior Bowl, really impressed in terms of big guy, big body, in terms of width, but I think it's 330 some pounds, if I remember correctly. But occupied blockers and showed some pass rush ability. And you get him here at pick, our second round pick. So I think that's a good value there as well. And obviously, Caleb Proctor, more of that upfield. And Logan Jones is a guy that I think fits the scheme perfectly in terms of that wide zone, athletic center, can get out, into the next level and really, finish his blocks. I love his tape. And he was one of my top centers coming into this season, and it didn't sway me off of that. And I think he sits at a year, kind of watches what Bradbury does in there, and then eventually within a year or two takes over as a starting center there. And Caleb Proctor is a developmental kid, but man, his tape, especially the one against LSU, really jumps out. And I talk about a guy that can get upfield and kind of threaten those gaps and get that quarterback. That's a kid I like a lot there as well. So that's a quick recap in terms of what we got, where we're at right now.
We are up on the clock. I did want to say Cliff Victoria says, I disagree with Parker at 25. McDonald or Woods would have changed this draft. I kind of think McDonald would have been good after I saw what failed to me in the second round. But
because you could have gone back-to-back Big Ten, McDonald and then Yakis.
Yeah, and I probably would have done that as well. Thoughts on Woods? I know we've talked quite a bit about him. I've seen him in mock drafts. His numbers, I don't think I could put it up while I'm sharing the screen here, but we have his numbers.
Which one? Who was that you were talking
about? Woods, Peter Woods.
Peter Woods. Okay.
Out of Clemson.
Is he still available?
He was in that. Maybe it had been in that first round, is what Cliff's talking about here.
Gotcha.
No, he's definitely not here now.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Peter Woods guy in the first round. Second, third round, you can convince me, but yeah, not in the first round. All right, so let's get a playmaker here. Who's the best available receiver?
According to the big board, the consensus big board, the top 4 positions are all receiver. You got C.J. Daniels from Miami, Florida. Aaron Anderson from LSU, Harrison Wallace III from Ole Miss, Robert Henry, a running back from UTSA, and then we've got Jordan Hudson down here from SMU.
Those are the best available?
Vinny Anthony's way down here from Wisconsin. Yeah.
Hmm.
I like Tyron Montgomery's way down here, but I feel like he had a good, what was it, the Senior Bowl that he played at, or Shrine out of John Carroll?
Yeah, this is Shrine guy. Interesting. Okay. We may have missed a boat there on getting a playmaker in terms of a receiver. What's the overall top available? Are these are the top overall? Okay.
Yeah, this is overall top.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Which position group do you think they're going to lean on here?
It's really hard to tell. I love grabbing linebackers here because, at the very least, in my opinion, you get special teams worth out of them. They're going to be able to run up the field and tackle guys.
What linebackers available? Let's pick on a linebacker group.
We got Justin Jefferson out of Alabama, Xavier Sori out of Arkansas.
I like him a lot. Xavier Sori. Go ahead. Keep going.
Carson Sherrar out of Iowa, Jaden Duggar out of Louisiana,
Wade Woodis. Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh gone?
Yeah, I don't see him here.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have been.
Jimmy Rolder from Michigan?
Nope, that's the name I was looking for. Let's see the draft results and see where these guys went, because they had to have gone. And
Jimmy Rolder is gone, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric Gentry went to the Lions in this round. He's a 6'7" linebacker out of USC. The guy I love, Kendall Daniels, went in the 6th round to Atlanta. Man,
let's see who else is available here. And obviously Harold Perkins is gone, right?
Right, yeah, because he was at the top of the board last time we picked, and that was 2 rounds ago. So
and Wesley, I can't pronounce it from Miami. Bisciante, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure, but he's gone too from Miami, linebacker.
Oh no, he's here, Wesley, but he's like 337. They're not very high on him at all.
Okay.
Wesley,
Xavier Sori, it caught my eye at the Senior Bowl, and again, 6'2", 228. Ran a 4.63 40. That hurt him. I think that's why he's still available here. 1.66 10-yard split, which is it's not horrible, but it's also not fantastic either. 37.5-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump. Had a flat 7 and 3 cone, which is in terms of change of direction. Was at Georgia. Was the 3 years at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Transferred to Arkansas. Was a 5-star recruit. Coming out of high school. So highly recruited kid. If you want to take a flyer on him, I mean, we could take a flyer. But if you want a linebacker, or we could just move on to the other position.
What are your thoughts on these receivers?
How about running backs? You got any running backs left there?
Robert Henry, the junior from UTSA, is the top one here.
I have not watched him, to be honest with you.
5'9", 196 out of Mississippi. JUCO product, looks like. His top thing on here is pass blocking. Trying to see what his combine numbers are, if they've got them on here.
Is your boy Eli Heidenreich gone?
Yeah, he was on there. I think on our last.
How about the guy I like? When we're talking about wish list, about my guy from Indiana, Caleb Black. Okay, Caleb Black.
Running back, we have Robert Henry Jr. out of UTSA, Jamarian Miller out of Alabama, Jaden Ott out of Oklahoma, Noah Whittington out of Oregon, Desmond Reed from Pittsburgh, and I don't see
Black is still there or no?
No, I don't see any Indiana running backs in here.
Yeah, this is slim pickings. This is where you go for how about receivers? Let's see any traits. Just receivers only. What do we got? C.D. Daniels. You told me is the top guy.
Yeah, that's who they got top.
How about other receivers available? Just give me all the receivers that are available right now.
C.J. Daniels, Aaron Anderson, Harrison Wallace the third, Jordan Hudson out of SMU,
Keep
Vinny
scrolling.
Anthony
Keep scrolling
from
now.
Wisconsin,
What you got there?
Lewis Bond from Boston College, Kyron Montgomery from John Carroll, Chase Roberts from BYU, Barian Brown from LSU, Caden Wet, I believe it's pronounced Wien. I don't know. It looks like Wet Gym, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it's pronounced. Out of Iowa, I think Cliff brought him up in the chat earlier. Said he's more of a return man than he is a
he's
receiver.
returner. Yeah. Keep going down the list of receivers.
Colby Young from Georgia, Romello Benson from SMU, Noah Thomas from Georgia, Colin Lacey from Louisville, Emmanuel Henderson Jr. from Kansas, Hank Beatty from Illinois, Dane Key, Kentucky and Nebraska, Max Tomzak from Youngstown State, Daniel Subkowis from Illinois State. I'm sure I butchered that name. Devin Voisin from South Alabama. We're down into like 400. Do you want me to keep
going? Yeah, I mean, just from the who's available, it sounds like C.J. Daniel could be a guy. Played 4 years at Liberty, 6'2", 1 quarter, 202 pounds. 31 3/4 hand size. I don't know if he did anything at the LSU Pro Day. Let me see what he came up in terms of his speed. Give me 1 second. Let me pull him up here real quick.
Testing comps. So they have combine comps where they match you against players that are in, and he's 99% of CD Lamb according to this. Xavier Hutchinson, he's 99% of him. Let me see how they break that down, whether that's
so you ran a 4.62 40 at the Pro Day with a 1.61 10-yard split, 10'3" broad jump, 34.5 inch vertical. So he's a solid prospect. Again, you're taking a flyer here. So on a receiver, if you need a receiver, not what I was looking for in terms of what I wanted was a dynamic playmaker. Now, obviously, they have a wider database than we do in terms of guys that they've already earmarked here. So guys that could do something in terms of special teams and stuff like that. So, this is where it gets tough, right? So, I'm going to go ahead and let you make that pick, man. It's whatever you think. If you want a receiver, do you want a defensive player? Do you want to go?
I think I'm going to go receiver. Like I said, I would usually look linebacker.
How about any sort of interior offensive lineman? Anything good there?
Let's see. Alex Harkey from Oregon. Fernando Carmona Jr. from Arkansas. Dylan Wade from Auburn. Evan Biernston from Northwestern, Micah Morris from Georgia. Those are the guards.
Casey's gone. Tackle from Boise State, probably going to be a guard. Austin Barber, tackle from Florida, is gone probably, right? Matt Golden is gone probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the top tackles is Carver Willis from Washington, Tristan Lay from Clemson, Riley Mahlman from Wisconsin, Nolan Rucci from Penn State, Alan Heron from Maryland, Enrique Cruz Jr. from Kansas. I think I'm just going to go with that.
The guy that had your guy from Kentucky, they had him in today, or I think on the 30 visit, Burton, the center.
Jagger Burton. He's well, they got Brockermeyer here, but we've already drafted a center.
Yeah, James Brockermeyer from Miami. Yeah, I think he's more a priority free agent, to be honest with you, James Brockermeyer.
They don't have Jagger Burton on here. I know.
Yeah. What do you want to do, man? Which way are you leaning here?
I think I'm going with C.J. Daniels. He's got pretty good size. Is Harrison Wallace faster? He's only 6 foot. I want more size. Aaron Anderson's very small. I think I'm going to go C.J. Daniels. Would you be good with that?
Let's do it. And you can have the last one too. You have the last pick as well.
All right, final pick. Let's see. Lorenzo Styles Jr., I know his brother, Sonny Styles, is a crazy athlete. Is Lorenzo Styles any
So is
good?
Lorenzo. He's more of a he actually went to Notre Dame as a receiver, ended up transferring then to Iowa State. He's a corner / safety, so definitely will give you some special teams value. Freak athlete. You could do worse than taking him, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I might be leaning. Lorenzo Styles, like you said, at the very least, you put him on your or your kickoff team, and he can go down there and nail somebody. So we'll grab him. That'll be our last pick in the draft.
There you go.
I've never seen it fall this bad to me, Danny. And most of my mock drafts,
I can see have people mock the mock.
Mock the mock. Yeah, I'll have to.
See, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because one pick and it changed your entire outlook, right, on the draft. Because if you had gone McDonald, then you would have got Yakus in the second round, and now you're thinking, all right, I think you like the combination better than what we went up with his Parker, and then eventually Lee Hunter in the second round as well. So I like the guys we got. Right, especially the top 4 or 5 guys. I think those are going to be, good players eventually. Especially the only thing is, will the Bears like TJ Parker? Will DA like TJ Parker because of the dimensions of the player? Right? Will will he like Lee Hunter? Is he too big of a just a run gapping, run plugging defensive tackle? In his opinion, that's where we'll have to see how it goes. But like for me, I think these are guys that can come in and contribute right away. And I think especially Parker and Scott and Hunter, I think those 4 guys, I mean, Jones is going to have to sit down for a year, and behind Bradbury, but man, I think I love that potential there as a future center. I love, I love Proctor, Caleb Proctor. So I think this is a pretty, they gave us a B already. They already gave us a B grade.
Yeah. They didn't like the TJ Parker or the Caleb. I mean, they gave us a C+ and a C- on those 2 picks, but
who on TJ Parker and who was the other one? Caleb Proctor.
Proctor, yeah, C- on him. But
yeah, well, I mean, but like Lorenzo Styles, that's a freak athlete. He might not be anything other than a gunner on special teams for you. Maybe a backup safety. Who knows how they look to utilize him? But
right,
Al Harris back there, man. I'll give him to Al Harris. Hey, man, we got tools here. What can you make?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So that was our mock draft, guys. It took a little while as we got into the weeds there towards the tail end of that draft, but definitely got through it. Definitely got through it there. So interesting. It was something where we addressed as much needs as we possibly could. Possibly could have. I wanted to probably do it a little bit more in terms of like the skill position. Adding a little bit more speed, some more dynamic playmaking ability, but the board didn't fall that way for us.
They must have flown off. Maybe we had to have grabbed him with that 89th.
What are you thinking of?
And I don't know, probably Stribling.
Oh, Stribling?
Yeah, I didn't look at the board completely at that time, but I just love Logan Jones. But if you grab a playmaker, then you've got to grab what's left of the centers when you get down there further. It's just really.
And again, this we're thinking, you and I are thinking, and people in the chat are thinking that they mean a center of the future, but we don't know how they feel about Luke Newman. Don't forget about that. That may be you look at as a future center, right? They might think that maybe they could re-sign Garrett Bradbury after that. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this is my wish list, right? So I told actually I teased it on Twitter, and I told AC, I'm like, man, I go if the Bears get 2 or 3 of these players, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be real happy with it. So I'll go through them here real quick. Obviously, Antonio Williams, we talked about the speed, the dynamic receiver in terms of coming in being for me at least, in my opinion, impact player right away. Logan Jones we drafted, so that's one of the guys we tweet took. Chris McClellan was a defensive tackle from Missouri. I was kind of pegged hopefully for that 3rd round, but it looked like he was gone by then. But if we had bypassed for whatever reason, if we had gone safety 1st round and say receiver or center 2nd round, McClellan was a guy I liked at Missouri. That's Zion Young's teammate. He also had 6 sacks as Young did, but he's a guy that for me can be a possible 3 technique, can be a 1 technique. He's a guy who really intrigues me there. Keldrick Falk to me is a guy that's a tailor-made defensive Allen. Dennis Allen.
I was hoping he fell to us, Danny. He's been falling to me more consistently, and I'm like, man, Greg Gabriel's kind of poo-pooed him because of the 2 sacks thing, but
which I don't get. I don't agree with because there was a kid that out of Penn State, Afe, I think his last name is pronounced Owe Afe, and he just signed. Owe Afe. He just signed with he had 1 sack or being no sacks at Penn State last year. Went I think first round with the Ravens. Just got traded to the Chargers. Had about the 7 or 8 sacks, I think double-digit sack numbers, and then got a big contract now with the Commander. So you got to look at Falk's tape. Yeah, last year only had 2 sacks, but the year before he had 7 sacks, right? So you got to go back and look at 2024 tape, right? And then Auburn was a mess last year, and
it was the Penn State of the SEC. So
yeah, you want to know what was going on there in Auburn. Obviously, the coaching staff was fired. But one thing about Keldrick Falk, he's a 20-year-old kid that's still developing. Right now, right today, he's a really damn good run defender, right? And then so it fits the profile Dennis Allen likes. Is he twitched up? Is he a elite first step, off the line of scrimmage guy? No, but neither is Montez Sweat. So all you got to do is take a look at this kid in terms of the size, the length. He's had production before, not this past year, but 2 years ago at 7 sacks. He's a guy that can stand up from a 2-point stance and rush the quarterback, put his hand on the ground. Like I said, at 20 years old, he's a pretty damn good run defender right now. And that's why I don't know why some people are, and it's not just Greg, a lot of people are just poo-pooing this guy because of the 2 sacks. Go back and watch the tape and look at his 2024 and what this kid was doing. And that's why a lot of these he's flying up these these boards, supposedly. We don't know for sure. We'll see what happens Thursday night. But this mock, he was gone to the Vikings, right? And so that's something, again, the 20-year-old, very good run defender, got the size and length, and has potential to be a pretty good pass rusher. Is he going to be a consistent day in and day out 10, 15 sack guy? I don't know. We'll see. But I like the traits, and I like what he's put on tape in 2024. Now, last year was a little bit it was a dip, but so was for TJ Parker, right? TJ Parker went from 11 sacks down to was it 5 or 4 sacks last year? I can't think off the top of my head, but either way, it's just I think that's the thing where Falk for me is still a prime candidate for that first pick. But
as far as sack production, though, I'm thinking more and more about if we'd grabbed Caden McDonald in that first round and Gabe Yakis in the second round, because Gabe Yakis racked up sacks the last 2 years at Illinois. I think he had 20 total in the last 2 years or something like that.
It's funny because I'm producing my Shimon Draft Scout scouting report on Gabe Yakis tonight, and it's probably going to drop sometime tomorrow. But yeah, awesome. I mean, he's a guy for me, 6'4", 260, 33-inch arm length, 10-inch hands. The biggest complaint about Yakis is what is he? Is he some scouts saw him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Some saw him, he's 260, add about 10 pounds. It could be 270. Could he be a full-time defensive end? There was talk about that, right? But the one thing you hit on the nail on the head right there, AC. This kid is a 4-year starter, Illinois. Okay.
Yeah.
Productive player. A 35.5 tackles for loss, 27 sacks for his career. All right, 7 forced fumbles, and he plays with violence. This guy's got violence in his game. When he hits a quarterback or when he hits a running back, they feel it, right? And that's the thing is he's got that tweener size. He's also a team captain as well. Okay, so he got that leadership there for you too. But first step get off is okay. It's good. It's not great. It's not elite. But man, he's got the ability to accelerate quickly into the offensive lineman. Got those big, strong hands, can punch and rock the offensive lineman. Has in terms of hand usage, you see. A rip move, a swim move, a swipe, able to get back and get into the backfield and make a play on the quarterback. Again, 7 forced fumbles. He gets that ball out of the hands of the quarterback. The length is okay. It's 33-inch arm length. It's not the 34, 35-inch that you want, but still it's right out there. And closing burst to once he turns a corner, can go in and make contact. So that's why for me, if you had gone Caden McDonald first round, Yakis would have been right there for me second round. I would have been great with that. In terms of what the chat just said, in terms of Robert Quinn was a little bit more twitchier. Yakis is more powerful, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I mean they're right there, and I could see, I think the biggest thing I really is knocking this kid if he's being knocked right now, if he drops in the second round. Again, this is all we don't know what's going to happen, but because that size. Like they don't know some. Like I said, half the league thinks he's a 3-4 outside linebacker, and half the league thinks he's a, it could potentially be a defensive end. So if you're a team that runs a hybrid front, like the Seahawks or some other teams that use multiple formations, and all that stuff, that would be perfect. I think he would be nice for the Bears because again, you could stand him up in a 2-point stance and rush him off the edge. You could put his hand in the ground and make him defensive end. I'm sorry. Can he get double teamed and wiped out by double teams? Sure. He's a rookie. He's gonna come in and he's gonna have to get stronger and get more stout at the point of attack. But right now you have your Montez Sweats, you have your Dio Dengos, you have some other guys that can be your first, second down defensive ends, if you will, and bring this guy off the edge and develop him into a powerful run defender and also utilize some of that pass rush ability. But anyway, I love Gabe Jacas. We talked about him down multiple times. Kale Proctor, another guy we drafted. I love him, the quickness. Bud Clark and AJ Halsey, 2 safeties. My Halsey scouting report just dropped last night. Again, he's the guy that makes things happen. Right? He's the guy that's got production on the football, very quick in terms of diagnosing and being someone that can make a play on the ball and also bring you a presence in terms of a physicality presence there in the defensive secondary. So Bud Clark, I talked about him, ball hawking safety, could be a nickel corner as well. He can cover tight ends in the slot, can cover receivers. He was locked down at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he was locking down receivers as well. So Bud Clark guy, I think he sitting there in that 4th round for us as well. So if we don't go for a Keontae Scott in the 2nd round, maybe we can get a Bud Clark in the 4th round.
Right.
Scott is another guy we got. So we got 3 of my guys. Three of my wish guys, we got him here. So Vizo Joe, yes, I do like Halsey more than EMW only because I can get Halsey in the 3rd round, possibly, right? I don't have to get a 1st round or high 2nd round pick on EMW. EMW has more of a upside, right? He's got the size in terms of the length and the 4.5 speed. But for me, Halsey is what EMW lacks and what Halsey has. He's got that diagnosability. He's got that processor chip in his head where he can just identify what's happening quickly post snap and get there and be in the right spot. Whereas, for me, EMW is more still developing there. You still see a little bit when I'm watching this tape, a little bit tick bit late there in terms of identifying what's going on. Both aggressive coming downhill. Halsey's got a little bit more of a filled out frame. Not as tall, but he's a little more muscular. EMW is a little thinner, but he's aggressive, but he's thin frame.
Right.
Missed 5 games last year because of a shoulder injury. So it was last year 2024. Anyway, he missed 5 games over the last 2 seasons or because of a shoulder injury. So that frame kind of concerns me, right? If you're getting hurt playing in college, he plays an aggressive style. That's
right.
Not about it. How is he going to hold up at the next level? So, plus I can get Halsey in the 3rd round as opposed to using a 1st or 2nd round pick on EMW. So, to answer your question, Vizo Joe, yes, I do like him because of where I can get better value. I feel in a not the same kind of player, but a very good player, especially in terms of the processor that Halsey is. Chris Johnson, I love this kid. Talk about a guy that can be a cornerback. Starting corner on the outside, could also, in my opinion, line up on the inside, play some nickel if you need to. So these are guys that on my wish list. If the Bears come away with 1 or like our mock draft, come away with 3 of these guys, I'll be pretty satisfied with the draft overall. So hopefully my grades and my vision for what their needs are and some of the players that can fulfill those needs match up with what the Bears see as well. So only. A couple more days left. We can stop talking about all this stuff, all the hypotheticals. We can see what happens here. But yeah, these are my guys. If the Bears come away with 1, 2, 3, 4 of these guys, I'm gonna be pretty pumped up in terms of what they did on draft night.
Yeah, I like a lot of these guys too. Like I said, I haven't second thoughts about should I have grabbed Caden McDonald and Gabe Jacas. I think that would have been a better draft strategy. I love Logan Jones out of Iowa, and I love AJ Halsey. He was a guy when we were talking about our safety positions, and I really got to see some of the tape. I was like, man, this dude kind of a do-it-all safety. He's a ball hawk, and he's not scared to come up and hit somebody. Chris McClellan, you covered him perfectly. Just an absolute monster at a 3 tech. Yeah, I can't. The only guys that that I would have on my wish list that you don't have on your wish list. And like you told me before the show, you had to trim it down so I
Yeah.
could actually fit them on the graphic. I love Malachi Lawrence. I know he's not your cup of tea completely because of the size you worry about. I love Malachi Lawrence, what I'm seeing on tape from him. I'm trying to think of some guys that aren't on here.
It's not that I don't like Malachi Lawrence. I just don't know in terms of, because first of all, he's not good in terms of run defense right now. Like, we think Yak is an in between guy. So is Malachi Lawrence, right? He's a guy the same thing in between. As opposed with a guy like Gabe Jackus. He's a guy that Illinois had on the line of scrimmage, had his hand on the ground, had him standing up at 2-point stance. Watch Lawrence at UCF. I mean, they had him as a stack linebacker. They had him all over the field. They had him in hand on the ground. They had him 2-point stance. So I just feel like, but him as a run defender, Lawrence, that is, I think he just gets overrun. He would come in and just be a guy that can give him a situational pass rusher. And again, just like Jackus, he's a guy that's got violence in his pass rush. Mortar goes 100 miles an hour. Doesn't stop. So pedal to the metal, whatever you want to call it. So you love all those things about him, and I think he might be a tad bit taller than Jackus. I'm a little bit more length. I'm not sure. I have to take a look at the numbers, but but for me, it's just like the physicality, the violence that Jackus plays at the line of scrimmage. I think that would kind of, the coaching staff would like more right now than Malachi Lawrence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd be good with either of them. And then a day 3 guy that I have consistently started to fall in love with is Kendall Daniels, the linebacker out of Oklahoma. Where's number 5? I talked to you about him offline. Like I said, I don't have access to the tape, but when I look up highlights, he's flying all over the field. Former safety, I think he's like 6'5", maybe 240. So that's why he has a lower draft stock, and he could be stolen in the day 3. But the athleticism's there, and like I said, those later round picks I like to use. They might not start for me right away, but they can. Special teams is a big thing. I mean, we just watched Seattle hoist the Lombardi Trophy because they focused on defense, of course, in waves and special teams. They paid their special teamers. The kicker dang near could have won the Super Bowl MVP for a lot of that game. But
yeah, I mean that's special teams is very important, right? Similarly, last year they invested a 4th round pick in Ruben Hippolyte, who rarely saw the field. Interesting. In terms of Visit Joe here, do you think Derek Moore? I'm assuming that edge guy from Michigan is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar vein in terms of TJ Parker, if you will. Maybe a little bit smaller in size, but yeah, just a physical bull rusher, a guy that get after the quarterback. Another one that a lot of teams see him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. So is he a hand in the ground defensive end? I think DA wouldn't think he is because I think in terms of his length, I think he's like 32-inch, sub 33-inch arm length, if I'm not mistaken there. But and it's physical pass rusher. But I think another one, he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker that teams see there as opposed to a hand in the ground defensive end. So for me, of that clump of players that are being told like what's Lawrence or Jackus or Moore or some other, I think Jackus fits that profile a little bit better in terms of what DA and the Bears might like. So it depends. If a guy like Keldrick Falk falls in the first round, they may take him, and they might take TJ Parker in the first round, like we did. So we'll see how that goes. But it's everything kind of rolls from there. So it's interesting. The one thing about this draft is there isn't it's what I call it a mid draft, right? Doesn't have great talent. It doesn't have I don't see any future Hall of Famers in this draft. Obviously, you don't know, right? But it's got some good players. It's got some good players throughout it, right? And for a team like the Bears, where you can pick and choose and plug in some holes here and there. That's why there isn't the perfect defensive tackle for the Bears. There isn't the perfect edge guy for the Bears, right? If you want a guy that gets after the quarterback, is physical, is violent, Akeem Mesidor. He's short, 6'2", 33-inch arm length. Could be undersized. Some teams like him better as inside defensive tackle as a pass rusher. But that gives you some of that pass rush violence you're looking for, right? You talk about Keldrick Falk, gives you the size, the length, but as some people have pointed out, the production wasn't there last year. So there isn't a perfect player. So that's what you got to do is you got to plug in and fill in with guys that, for me, Caden McDaniel, I know he gets knocked a lot as a 2-down run stuffing defensive tackle. Well, that's his strength now. for me, remember he's a 1-year starter at Ohio State. For me, he's shown some twitch there where you coach him up, you get him better. And he could potentially be a guy that can collapse a pocket as a pass rusher as well. So that's why I'm so high on Caden McDonald. So, but there isn't that perfect fit for every one of these teams.
Right.
So it's like, you can see these names are going to be all over the place, come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So guys that, a lot of people had mocked in the first round could end up going in the third round, right? We won't see anything like last year where you saw, Shedeur Sanders, top 5 pick end up going in the fifth round. That's a whole different scenario. But we're just going to see guys all over the place, guys that people thought, oh, that's a second round guy, and what's he doing in the first round, and blah, 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 vice versa. So it makes it more fun and more interesting, but it's not a draft that's full of great players. It's more full of solid to good players, I would say.
Yeah. I think it's a good draft for us, though, because a lot of the pretty good players feels needs where we, D-line.
D-line. Like for me, secondary players are pretty good in this draft. Safety and some corners there as well. So again, I know I'm an island by myself, but I think we need some cornerback depth. So we'll see what happens there.
I don't think you're so far on your own, man. I've been grabbing one of the. I usually do a trade back. I know we weren't doing it tonight, but usually I'll do a trade back to gain some more draft capital in those 4th, 5th rounds that we don't have picks. And then almost consistently, there's one of those Washington corners or Devin Moore from Florida there for me. But again, it's a mock. Who knows how it's going to actually fall.
And that's like Takara Davis. I think that fits the style, right? Devin Moore, talking about the kid from Florida, fits the mold, as well, in terms of a, solid press corner with some physicality as well, has some good speed. So, but again, that's the other thing was with the 25th pick. A lot of people are like, oh, Bears should trade back. Sure. I would love to trade back, especially if you get a top of the second round kind of draft pick and maybe pick up a 4th or something like that, right? Because you need some more draft capital. But, so it takes 2 to tango, right? A team's going to want to have to come up and give up that 4th round pick or whatever the compensation is to get that 20. And then just the thing is like, it's not a draft that's full of quarterbacks, right? Typically, those are the guys that teams kind of jump back into the first round for. Like I said, it's full of good players, not necessarily great players. So, unless a team has a need and they say, oh, this is the guy, and there's a run on the position, and they feel like he's not going to get there to the top of the second round, whether it's a corner, whether it's maybe a safety, maybe offensive. There's going to be a run on offensive lineman in this draft. There's going to be probably 7.
I feel like offensive tackle is very top heavy in this draft. So
there's 3. There's for me at least. There's 3 true left tackles in this draft. We talk about it. Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, and
Freeling
from Georgia.
So
those are the left tackles. So if those guys are not there, and if Lomu is there, and I know some of the national guys are saying the Bears are mocking Lomu to the Bears at 25. To me, it's I wouldn't be upset with that pick. I would just be sad. I'd be sad, and we talked about it last week. I'd be sad because that means that Isaac Trapillo probably is done.
Right.
And that's what that indicates to me. Because if you know, or if you're the Bears and you think Isaac's going to be out next year, but he's going to be back 100% or close to 100% following year, competing for that left tackle spot, you can probably make do with a Braxton Jones or a Derrick Wills, for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and draft one, if you invest first round capital,
pick,
tackle, that tells me that they think the Ozzie thing is pretty bad, and that would upset me because I have high hopes for Ozzie Trapillo.
Yeah, me too. I love Ozzie, but it's getting about that time. Like you said, it's draft week. Like, comment, subscribe. Vizo Joe. Yes, we will be doing a live show on draft night. It will be myself, Tooch, and Tooch is hopping in and out. I think KB is going to hop on with me for a while. I might send the link out and see if we can get some fans in here. I mean, the bar room is a fan-friendly environment. We're going to live stream during the draft on Thursday night. I'm pretty sure Greg Gabriel's coming on Friday during the day to recap the first round, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tooch may be possibly doing a show Friday night, and then there will be a Barfly Tailgate show Sunday morning recapping the entire draft. But the best way to keep up with it is to like, comment, and subscribe to the Ballroom Radio Network. and subscribe to my man Shimon Draft Scout on YouTube. Like he said, he's dropping these scouting reports on all these players. He drops AJ Halsey just recently. He had Dylan Thieneman in there. I think he said he's working on. Did you say Kendrick Falk you're working on right now? Or
Kendrick Falk? No, Kendrick Falk is already out there. Jackets from Illinois. Gabe Jackets from Illinois is coming out tomorrow.
Yep. Howie, we did talk about Kendrick Law. If you're just popping in late, go back and listen on demand. We covered. I put some tape up of him. We talked about him prior to our mock draft. But it's time for us to get out of here. Like I said, just hit the notification bell to tell you every time we go live. And until next week, or until next week, we'll come back and
recap in the draft. We go over the undrafted free agents, all that stuff. So and then we'll go into our off season.
Yeah, absolutely. But until next week, we'll just leave everybody with a bear down.